A mysterious purple liquid slowly pours onto a golden tray, while a frightened little girl trembles under the covers on the bed. The kid nervously puts her hand to her mouth as a demanding order to drink looms over her. The white-haired boy persistently holds out the tray, but the girl recoils in fear. He sadly and reproachfully reminds her that he overcame many hardships for her sake and asks if she's really going to refuse. The girl awkwardly explains that it's not that she doesn't want to, but she just can't bring herself to do it. She remembers that this elixir is a rare treasure, obtained at the risk of his life, and, giving in, agrees to drink it. Feeling sick after drinking the elixir, she slumps to the floor, and the boy is pleased with her efforts and sure that she won't faint now. The boy smiles and tells her to ask permission before falling next time, so he doesn't have to see her so weak again. He snaps his fingers, satisfied that the medicine is inside her now. Just then, a strong man with a dumbbell suggests they begin the real test. Representatives of the Arlen Medical Council come forward, gathered to support what's happening. Everyone's wishing Arlene a speedy recovery, but she's beat. She wonders why the kid's pushing so hard, and braces herself for the explanation. He's so stoked, he scoops her right up, wants to see if the medicine's helped her get stronger. She's totally caught off guard. Next thing she knows, they're putting her through a workout, cheering her on. But she's clearly not ready for this kind of pressure. They're making her run 10 laps around the mansion. She's thinking she'll kick the bucket from exhaustion before she even gets better. She's wiped out, barely standing, and someone's actually surprised she's tired already. She's bummed listening to them call her weak, reminding her she needs to get healthy so they can go monster hunting together. The kid's beaming, promising he'll definitely get her back in shape. A 19-year-old violin prodigy, practically touched by the gods, is taking the world by storm with her talent. Out of nowhere, her life gets cut short when she gets taken out by more than just some random truck. A fancy sedan is what caused the whole thing, ending her story way too soon. After she kicks the bucket, she's reborn as a character in a novel, waking up in a brand new world. Totally freaked out and confused, she tries to wrap her head around what's happening. She remembers she rarely finished novels, so it takes her a sec to figure out which world she's landed in. This kid's gasping for air after the slightest thing. She can't believe how weak her new body is. Her thoughts are all over the place, but memories of her old life are getting clearer every second. Everyone's buzzing about how Duke Halburn suddenly showed up with a daughter nobody's ever heard of. This mysterious girl, out of nowhere in the Duke's mansion, is left in the caretaker's hands while the Duke heads off to the Northern Territories. The Duke bites the dust before his daughter even turns 10, taking the whole truth about her past to the grave. Erilyn, stuck with some incurable disease, is just a minor character and the hero's childhood friend, and she's suffering and fading fast. She's stuck in bed, thinking about her past life, but she's completely lost her spark and hasn't done jack for a week. The heroine finally comes to and realizes the most important person in her life is about to show up. A man with long, fair hair, her one and only protector, approaches her door and knocks. The servants respectfully announce Mr. Mayhen's arrival and quickly excuse themselves. Mayhen greets her reservedly, mentioning it's been a while since he's seen his ward. Arellen, who hasn't left her room, sits on the bed, sadly thinking about her guardian, Mayhen. Mayhen, looking businesslike with a folder in hand, asks how she's feeling, but she's surprised by his formal tone. The grand mansion serves as a backdrop to the story of Mayhen, a brilliant manager who stood out from the commoners from a young age. Memories flash back to when the girl was afraid of Mayhen because of his stern aura. Now, he just looks like a tired office worker, completely swamped with worries. Arellen, a little flustered, is about to say something but can't find the right words. She greets Mayhen with a gentle smile after their long separation, surrounded by flowers and light. Mayhen's taken aback by what she says, not quite grasping her meaning at first, and she quickly assures him that she's doing just fine, telling him not to worry about her. Mayhen, looking concerned, reminds her that he'd heard about her seclusion and mentions how much he cares. Erilyn recalls how Mayhen used to hate her going for walks and always worried about her health. Mayhen explains that any walks put too much strain on her weak heart. So, Sweetie promises to be good and not cause any extra trouble, trying to put Mayhen at ease. Mayhen, standing at a distance, acknowledges her words and agrees with her decision. Despite his outward calm, he senses that her behavior has changed in the last 3 months, and he can't figure out why. Back in his office, Mayhen gives the order to assemble a childcare support team. He wants everyone together, ASAP. And he sounds seriously freaked. The staff here? Top-tier grads from the best butler and maid academy. We're talking high society elite. Arlene's care team is supposed to be perfect, the best of the best. They're all bending over backwards to make her happy. Servants and managers are gathering around the big table to figure out what's up with the girl's behavior. Rena, the head maid, says Arlene seems totally out of it, like her feelings are dulled. She's holed up in her room, but she's still got an appetite. Erna, the head butler, chimes in that Arlene's barely smiling these days. Even when they try to crack her up, she just forces a smile. The manager asks about her health, but the royal doc says she's fine. Go figure. Another maid pipes up, worried. She says Arlene's never withdrawn like this before. I mean, they used to have to stop her from leaving the house. The manager's sweating it. Why do they have to go to her room to see her now? He can't figure out why she's shut down. The head maid suddenly remembers something. She's all worked up as she tells everyone tomorrow's a huge day. The day the young ladies gotta visit the Imperial Palace is almost here, and it's got the whole house buzzing. There's this big formal shindig supposed to boost connections between the crown prince, the heirs, and the nobles, so everyone's scrambling to get ready. Thanks to magical engineering taking off, this world's got all kinds of crazy cool stuff that'll blow your mind. The Imperial Palace, being the heart of wealth and tech, is ridiculously over the top, and Arlene's just staring at all the flash, totally amazed. Just a short walk is almost too much for the girl. She can feel her weak body about to give out. She answers the call, worn out, barely able to stand. They greet her in the hall like she's the future Mrs. Albrecht, and she can feel all eyes on her. Two smiling boys stand out among the guests. Their popularity is like these guys are major celebs. One of them's gonna become a notorious player, and the other a straight-up sword-fighting maniac. The girl thinks, with a smirk, that together they'll make a real mess. A love triangle that'll shake the whole empire. The girl sits on the couch, lost in thought, wondering how weird it is to know someone's future when you're not part of it. Suddenly, she hears someone enter the room and looks up, surprised to see it's His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince. The long-awaited guest arrives, and all the kids are stoked to see him. There he is, the main character of the novel, radiating charm and surrounded by attention. She's blown away by how gorgeous a 7-year-old can be, staring at the white-haired, bright-eyed Crown Prince. Above the majestic castle, nestled in greenery, the big question is, what's the game plan for today? The white-haired kid pipes up, super excited, and asks everyone to throw out their ideas for what to play. Two boys in fancy gold outfits admit they're drawing a blank on ideas. Over by the snack table, someone suggests heading outside, and another shouts, "Yeah!" 'Cause playing outside is the best. The girl in the blue dress chimes in, totally digging the idea of playing Find the Ball again. She agrees with a smile, but inside she's thinking, damn, how much energy do these guys have? The kids are already hyped, calling out to each other, not wanting to waste a second. The girl with the long blonde hair wonders why she's even surprised by all this. She feels invisible, like nobody even notices she's around. They call her the one and only precious daughter of the Halburn household, a jewel of noble birth. But the truth is way less glamorous, because even here at home, she feels like a ghost. When she realized she'd been reborn, there was only one thing she wanted. The girl with the long blonde hair watches the happy family, dreaming of a warm home where memories are everything. She's sitting alone at the snack table, wondering if she even should have gotten her hopes up. In the library, head down, she decides to go anyway, surprising the maid with her choice. "Let me show you the way," the maid offered with a smile, all sweetness and respect. The girl didn't wait, just took off, leaving the maid totally confused. She walked down the long hallway, thinking about how Arlen's books described being sick, and maybe that's why she couldn't play with the other kids, even though she always tried to fit in. The girl wondered to herself, what was the point of even trying so hard? She figured it was better to chill in the shade than waste her energy for nothing. Settling down under a tree, she let herself relax, not trying to impress anyone. A light breeze cleared her head, bringing a sense of peace. Suddenly, there was a rustling in the bushes, and the girl turned around, on alert. Sitting among the thick bushes in the sunny garden was a snow-white cat with blue eyes, making her wonder if it belonged to the emperor or empress. The cat suddenly leaped out of the bushes, making the girl jump. A blonde-haired girl, kneeling in the grass, is frantically searching for her lost cat. Suddenly, a white-haired boy appears before her, offering his hand. Their eyes meet in surprise. The red-eyed boy asks, confused, who she is. The girl is flustered, recognizing him as Crown Prince Persian, and can't figure out what he's doing here. The girl admits with a slight blush that she belongs to the Halburn family. The white-haired boy is surprised she's alone, since the other kids are playing together. She gives an awkward smile and explains she's not feeling up to joining the others. An awkward silence hangs in the air, and the girl mentally hopes he'll take the hint and leave. The boy says skeptically that you can't just pass out from running, implying she's full of it. The girl desperately begs him to just go away, insisting she's not lying. The girl forces a smile, hearing the demand to prove herself and run, clueless where it'll lead. The white-haired boy reminds her about honesty with a hint of accusation, while she desperately tries to explain. Resolve flickers in her eyes, and she mentally agrees to finish this trial. The girl storms off, hurt, vowing to remember this moment and the Crown Prince himself. She starts running, thinking that the weather today is just begging for someone to pass out. With each step it gets harder, and she's surprised how quickly she's losing steam. The white-haired boy watches in astonishment as the girl in the fancy blue dress suddenly collapses. He catches her in his arms, staring in fear at her pale, sweaty face. Panicked, he looks for help, spotting a maid standing nearby. She weakens in his arms, and he desperately calls for a doctor. Today was supposed to be a friendly get-together between the Crown Prince and the Empire's heirs for a crucial game. Arlene collapses, and they bring her lifeless body back, leaving everyone on edge. The guy with the icy glare figures even a Halburn family member gets treated like dirt, and suspects the Imperial family's behind it. The palace is getting grilled for answers, and the tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife. He states firmly that he'll deal with the palace later, focusing on what's really important right now. He asks the servants about the little Miss's condition. The maid nervously reports that the girl's awake, but they're seriously worried about her. Arlene's in bed, and they've already slapped a quarantine order on her. Things are super tense at the Imperial Palace as a woman in a blue dress addresses a boy named Pession. She reminds him, trying to keep her cool, about being so rough with the Halburn girl, and asks what his mother is teaching him. The white-haired kid looks down and says he's being taught to be nice to everyone. The woman sternly reminds him that every action has a reaction, and the kid starts to realize how serious this is. He's ordered to head over to the Halburn estate right now and give Lady Arlene a sincere apology. Until he gets forgiveness, all his favorite treats are off limits, which totally bums him out. The white-haired kid is shocked and bummed to realize all his favorite sweets are now forbidden. The girl thoughtfully compares how fragile she is to a sunbeam frozen in crystal as she lazily munches on a cookie. She remembers always knowing she was weak, but she didn't expect it to be this bad. Embarrassed, she wonders how she could just fall down after running just a little bit. The girl hopefully thinks maybe she can still fix things, carefully holding a mug at the table with the cookies. She anxiously worries about the possibility of being banished, sitting alone in the fancy hall. Meanwhile, two maids are totally trashing her, saying she's just trying to get attention, and they feel bad for Lord Mayhin. This young dude's all sarcastic, thinking about how he's stuck babysitting. The girl's sitting there with her mug, feeling like everything going down is her fault. In her dark memories, she hears all the blame and mocking, calling her proud and stuck up. She remembers trying to stay positive, but everyone just turned their backs on her, like they didn't care. A voice inside her snarks that these people aren't friends, they're all just trying to one-up each other. The girl sadly realizes that this life is just repeating the same crap as the last one. The girl's sitting alone at a table in the garden, just wishing she had her mom's love. The man sighs, realizing how damn hard it is to raise a kid. She's trying to hide how she feels, telling herself she can handle it, and blaming herself for not paying enough attention. We're flashing back to Lady Arlene Sigria Halburn's early childhood, raised from the moment she was born. A little girl in a red dress is happily calling out for Mayhin. The man admits he's just a temporary guardian assigned to her. He's trying not to get too attached, holding back his feelings. He knows she ultimately needs a real family, not just a caretaker. Frustrated, he tries to get a connection, but the tech's failing him. His buddy notices him spacing out and tells him not to get so hung up on his own head. The man's surprised, asking if he's talking about him. His friend explains that Lady Arlene has never met the Grand Duke, and maybe he's become her family. A little girl in a fancy dress sits on a throne surrounded by jewels, but she's missing the most important thing. All a kid really needs is the warmth of a loving guardian. The maid rushes in, all flustered, and says the crown prince is here. The guy's like, wait, who's here? He figures the lady's fainting spell has something to do with this visit. So all this drama's because the crown prince showed up, and now he's sitting in the parlor, looking all sheepish. The crown prince is totally thrown, like he can't believe this is happening. He's wide-eyed with shock. The guy at the table says the doctor ordered complete rest for the girl, and asks the guests to leave. The crown prince, not wanting to give up, offers to leave a chest of jewels for the girl if he can just go. The guy politely thanks him for the gift, but he's clearly worn out. The servant's sweating it, thinking about the fallout this could cause for the royal family. In my head, I see this massive wolf demanding answers from the royal family right in front of the Halburn estate. The guy and the kid are standing in front of these huge doors, after they were politely asked to leave for the day. The kid's all confused and asks what to do, and the older guy tells him to get out of here for now. The kid's staring down, lost in thought, and the man gives him a reassuring smile. Out of nowhere, the kid's like, I gotta see her myself, and takes off, leaving the man totally stunned. The man's freaking out, doesn't know what's going on, and he's starting to sweat. The woman, cold as ice, reminds them she told them to leave, and the man realizes he messed up big time. The servant's losing it, begging the crown prince for help, his face all twisted up with tears and worry. He's screaming, what do we do about that Halburn mad dog? And the whole castle can hear him. The silver-haired kid cautiously steps into the hall, sensing that something's seriously wrong here. This freaky silence is setting him on edge. There's this weird sense of urgency and emptiness hanging in the air. He's getting flashbacks to the cozy, warm imperial palace, where everyone was nice and smiling. But the kid can feel that things are different here, and his eyes narrow with suspicion. You can't feel an ounce of warmth in this huge hall, just a long, drawn-out chill in the air. The kid's getting worried, wondering if he can find Arlene before they catch him. He gets this pensive look on his face, and a feeling of unease starts to build inside. He remembers holding Arlene in his arms, and regrets making her run. It hits him hard that all he wanted to do was say he was sorry. Suddenly, the kid spots an open door, and wonders what kind of room it is. Carefully, the kid pushes open the massive door, realizing this ain't no servant's quarters. He's blown away by all the flowers, the way they fill the room with light, and this amazing smell. Sunlight hits her, and he sees this girl with hair that shines like platinum. Her eyes are like pink quartz, and she's looking at him with this mix of sweetness and sadness. She's got this pale, delicate porcelain face, like she's made of pure light. The girl looks at him, all surprised and shy, and he just freezes, totally stunned to see her. This platinum-haired girl with pink eyes is standing in the morning light, looking at him like, "Whoa, who are you?" The silver-haired kid with the red eyes just stops dead, and he can feel his heart pounding in his chest. In this huge room, filled with soft light, the girl nervously speaks to her tall visitor, but her voice is barely a whisper. The white-haired, red-eyed dude in the fancy uniform looks all flustered as he admits he messed up and apologizes for what happened. He swears it won't ever happen again, and you can see he's genuinely sorry on his face. The girl with the long blonde hair just calmly says she's fine. That stuff happens. There's this awkward moment between them, like neither one really gets the other's vibe. The girl turns away, saying she knew she might fall, and tells him not to worry about her. She points out that he snuck in here, and he's surprised she even noticed. The girl with the long blonde hair says she needs to rest, because she's still not feeling 100%. The guy awkwardly agrees, wishing her a good rest, and telling her to be careful on her way. The boy's left alone in the huge hall, when someone addresses him with respect. He's blown away by what just happened, and can't believe he just got the boot. The crown prince is totally lost. He can't wrap his head around what just went down. Just then, servants rush into the hall, worried about the girl's condition. "Yo," a servant just told the maid that His Highness dipped out of the young lady's room, and she needs to get in there ASAP. The other maid's just watching with a tray. The purple-haired girl with glasses is like, "Whoa!" totally thrown off by what she just heard. Dude's like, "Bad timing, man. Mayhen's been on edge lately." And the maid suggests bringing the medicine tomorrow. Girl's thinking, "Why are those two acting so weird today?" Then she remembers the young lady needs her meds on schedule. The maid and the dude are feeling the heat from Mayhen's stare, deciding to back off for now. Someone points out that the young lady sees Mayhen as family, not just some servant. The girl with long blonde hair is surprised, saying, "You actually snuck in here?" The guy with glasses is giving her the serious eye, and she's like, "I got nothing to hide." The guy's embarrassed, apologizing for jumping to conclusions. He drops to one knee, telling her he didn't mean to grill her like that. The girl notices with surprise that the man looks really troubled. Lost in the dark shadows of his memories, he realizes he's just her guardian now. The girl with the long blonde hair notices she's been seeing Mayhen around way too much lately and figures he's busy. Moen replies, holding back, that she shouldn't waste her time on him. She decides she'll just be quiet and invisible, like she doesn't even exist. Mayhen, flustered, tries to say something, but can't find the words. He agrees to do things her way, if that's what she really wants. The girl silently drinks her tea, and Mayhen wonders why she's so ticked off. The man with the long blonde hair walks through the opulent hall, thinking he'll just be ignored if he stays out of the way. Clenching his fist, he thinks with annoyance that he never asked the girl to take his responsibilities as guardian away. He drops to his knees, hurting because he never wanted to see such sadness on the kid's face. On the sunny terrace, the maid reminds Milady it's time for her medicine. The girl with the long blonde hair wrinkles her nose in disgust, thinking the medicine tastes awful. She remembers taking this stuff since she was a kid, and even though she doesn't know who made it, it helps her deal with her unpredictable episodes and outbursts. The girl with the long blonde hair asks where Uni is, and the maid with the tray explains that she came instead because of an urgent meeting. The maid, looking thoughtful, wonders if she's the one always bad-mouthing her mistress behind her back. The girl, looking tired, says she's done and tells the maid she can go. The girl turns away and pulls the blanket up, and the maid obediently leaves the room. Graham, the crown prince's chamberlain, has been dreaming of retirement lately, wearily adjusting his tie against the backdrop of the lavish palace. Meanwhile, it becomes clear that His Highness is head over heels for Lady Halburn, whose portrait hangs on the wall, and the young man gazes at it thoughtfully. This kid with the white hair and red eyes is wondering what makes Lady Arlene so delicate. Memories flash him back to childhood, running through the garden with the other kids and servants, scared someone might take a spill like Lady Arlene. He's all worked up telling Graham that Lady Halburn said goodbye before leaving, and he's sure it wasn't just a coincidence. The kid keeps bugging Graham to find out what the lady's up to these days and how she's doing. He's hoping, asking if Arlene's gonna make it to the childhood friends get-together tonight. Graham smiles, says her health's way better, and she promised she'd be there, but you can hear a little doubt in his voice. Graham and the white-haired kid walk into the hall. Friends greet them, but it's clear Lady Arlene's a no-show. The kid shoots Graham a disappointed look, feeling totally betrayed and bummed. Graham sadly thinks about how badly he wants to bail, and the kid's just confused about what's going on. The childhood friends thing wraps up early. Graham makes excuses about getting the all clear, and the kid's wondering if it's his fault for mentioning the running around. In his head, the kid's picturing Arlene as a little kitten, thinking she could totally be one. He sadly realizes he won't see Arlene again, and admits to himself that he misses her. Graham's desperately trying to stop His Highness when he suddenly decides to leave. The white-haired kid declares firmly that if Arlene can't come to him, then he's going to her himself. At the palace gates, the guards surprised to see them arrive, recognizing the kid as someone important. The silver-haired kid demands they open the gates immediately, not tolerating any delays. The man next to him inwardly laments how complicated things are, and suggests announcing their visit. The kid suddenly stops, lost in thought about something important. He decides the element of surprise will make a bigger impact, and enthusiastically heads forward, leaving the man bewildered. The man, nervously agreeing, hopes this won't just make a bad situation even worse. This silver-haired kid striding down the palace's red carpet, like he owns the place, remembering the thing he's looking for should be around here somewhere. He's getting a bad vibe from this mansion. Used to be nothing but loneliness and a chill in the air. Now the atmosphere in the hall's all tense. Even the maids are acting jumpy. This dude starts talking to the kid, surprised, but a maid rushes in, telling him to keep it down. One of the maids is pissed, remembering how she got chewed out after bringing medicine. Someone's really got their head up their butt. The guy thinks to himself, annoyed, that without Lord Mian's backing, this girl's a nobody, even if she acts like royalty just because she's pretty. The kid's getting worried by these weird words he's hearing, and suddenly feels someone's hand on him. He figures he's got to find out what this whole conversation is about, and starts really listening in. The maids are talking about how even being a half-blood, someone's still got class, and they're shocked by how cold she is to the Lord. One of the maids snidely figures this girl's useless and doesn't have long for this world, since she still doesn't know her place. The kid just stops dead in the middle of the room, wondering who the hell doesn't know their place. This guy's demanding respect, telling them to get on their knees, reminding them they ain't looking down on just anyone. Two maids are kneeling before the kid, anxiously waiting to hear what he'll say. One of them, totally freaking out, is trying to figure out why he's not saying anything. The kid walks closer, and with a chilling curiosity, says he's real interested in what they were talking about. He comes right out and asks who here doesn't know their place, sending shivers down the maids' spines. You can see the pent-up nastiness in their faces, the desire to put someone down, to really hurt them. The kid's realizing for the first time what it really means to be pissed off. One of the maids is losing it, bowing to the floor, realizing things are spiraling out of control. The young guy's shocked to see the crown prince is here, and the maid nervously hangs her head. The guy with the ice-cold stares trying to figure out what all the commotion's about. The maids are bawling, admitting things went way too far, and one of them's losing it. A little girl with golden hair shows up in the middle of the adults, totally throwing everyone off. The maid, freaking out, grabs the girl's hand, begging for forgiveness and calling her my lady. The maids are sobbing, pleading for mercy, completely consumed by fear and despair. The boy, cool as ice, says their begging's pointless, and calls them out for being dumb. The man realizes, with a heavy heart, that the maids dared to disrespect their mistress in her own house. One of the maids just shrugs and says it doesn't even matter. The girl admits this kind of thing's happened to her before, and the maid's totally shocked. The maid gently squeezes the girl's hand, asking her why she didn't say anything. The girl sadly admits there was some truth to what the maid said. The maid asks again, stunned, not believing what she just heard. The man, face like ice, orders everyone back to their posts. One of the servants asks Lord Mayhen what to do with the offenders. Lord Mayhen firmly orders them locked in the dungeon, promising to question them himself. The boy rushes to the girl, worried, asking if she's all right. The girl thinks with regret she should have stayed in her room, never expecting to run into someone so irritating in the hallway, and the boy asks with a smile how she's been. The boy anxiously asks if she's feeling better, and if she's having trouble standing for long, then asks what brought them here. He explains he came to see her because she missed their meeting, and he thought Aaron might be sick, and the girl replies, embarrassed, that they were just passing by. The girl reflects that the cheerful Pession and the frail Irene never had anything in common to begin with, to become friends. The kid's all flustered, saying he didn't do anything special, but he couldn't just stand by. The girl thanks him, but wants to say something else. She asks him to let her handle things next time, or he might put His Highness in a compromising situation. Looking guilty, the boy asks if he was being too pushy. The girl says no, even though she kinda agrees inside. He apologizes for everything and thanks her for today, feeling bummed and confused. The girl forces a smile, admitting she feels even worse today, cursing her weak body. She explains she'd normally offer guests juice, but with all the trouble at home and feeling so crummy herself, she thinks it's time to say goodbye. The servants see the boy out, and he reluctantly leaves, telling Arlene to take care of herself. Alone with the maid, the girl walks down the hallway, feeling totally wiped out after the day she's had. The girl barely hears the maid telling her to get to bed. Feeling super dizzy, she loses her balance and starts to fall, and the maid calls out to her, worried. Arlene collapses on the floor, totally spent, and her name echoes in the maid's desperate scream. The young dude with the ice-cold stare stands in the hall, thinking about the new crap he's got to deal with now. The old butler, head hung low, apologizes to Lord Mayhen, knowing the gravity of what just went down. The butler takes the blame for the incident, and the lord demands the situation be handled flawlessly, and that the butler keeps serving him. Lord Mayhen's left alone in the room, thinking about Lady Arlene's mood swings and admitting he's been distracted lately, totally on edge. Thinking back, he realizes he's been trying way too hard to be attentive to the young lady. Suddenly, a young guy bursts into the room, totally freaked, yelling for Lord Mayhen. Lord Mayhen coolly asks the worked-up Dylan what's going on, and Dylan stumbles over his words, trying to explain what happened to Miss Arlene. Dylan, losing it, shouts in a panic that Lady Arlene's passed out cold. In the room where Arlene lies unconscious on the bed, the maid, at her wit's end, suggests getting the mages involved. The maid's freaking out, saying the girl's having another episode. Lord Mayhen's totally panicked, demanding to know how Arlene is. The maid says Arlene suddenly started convulsing, and the Lord's desperate. He's asking where the healer is. Lord Mayhen's worried sick, hearing that the healer already checked Arlene and left to prep the medicine, saying it's going to be a rough day for her. He's all worked up, asking if Arlene actually took all her meds like she's supposed to. The maid's flustered, says she gave her the medicine, but then she starts to second-guess herself. The Lord doesn't even get an answer, because the maid bolts out of the room, leaving him totally confused. Meanwhile, Arlene's out cold, whispering for her mom in her sleep. In her mind, the same old nightmare's kicking off again, always starts with that damn piano. A violin just appears in her hands, like out of nowhere, and shadows creep across the floor, making everything feel super mysterious. Across the way, in the shadows, her mom's perched like some stone-cold judge, just watching everything go down. In her memories, Mom was this amazing, talented woman, a total virtuoso on the violin. Mom only had one real dream. You could see it in her gentle smile, and the way she'd touch her pearl necklace. The violin and bow are on the floor, and all I can hear is Mom's belief in me, her hope that I'd make her dream come true. Mom's words just cut off, and the silence gets filled with this piano accompaniment. But there's no one playing, just a lonely tune. The girl can't even lift the bow. Her eyes are glued to her mom sitting out there. She's trying to figure out what Mom's face is saying, but all she sees is the pearl necklace and that severe outline. Desperate, the girl calls out to her mom, her throat tight, fighting back tears. A happy memory flashes, a picture of kid and mother together, bathed in soft light, and a question about love. The girl begs her not to leave her alone, but her mom just walks away, leaving her in the dark on that stage. Fear grips her, and she collapses to the floor, desperately calling for her mom, but her voice just vanishes into nothing. The girl wonders in despair if she's doomed to be alone in this nightmare all over again. Suddenly, a light cuts through the darkness, and someone gently embraces her, bringing back a feeling of warmth. They calm her down, telling her everything's all right, and call her by name, Lady Arlene. The girl's asleep in her bed, and a young man sits beside her, tenderly holding her hand. He remembers instinctively grabbing her hand, wanting to support her through this tough moment. He wonders why she calls out for a mother she's never even known with such longing. Lying in bed, the girl hears him thinking about her loneliness and her yearning for a mother, even with this huge mansion all around. She slowly wakes up, rubbing her eyes, still feeling the sadness. The young man looks at her, surprised and worried, when he hears her call out for her mom. A young guy with green eyes, looking down all embarrassed, admits he's not the kid's mom. He asks, all worried, if the other person's doing okay. The girl with long blonde hair, sitting on the bed, calls him mommy, and the guy's like, totally thrown, I'm a dude. The girl, eyes filled with tears, calls for her mommy again, can't hold it in. The guy, looking beat, thinks to himself that kids are seriously impossible to figure out. Flashback time. Duke Halburn first brought the kid home, and everyone watched with this morbid curiosity. This mysterious woman surrounded by dark flowers makes you wonder, who was this kid's mother? Everyone agrees the kid's got Halburn blood, because the family's guardian stone is going nuts around her. The servants are gossiping that the kid's definitely the Duke's. But who's the mother? And could it be like a love thing? The idea of the Duke being in love? Someone thinks that's the most messed up thing ever. But the kid, caught in the middle of all this gossip, had to be feeling something different. Had to be curious about her parents. Even with everything going on, the girl never once asked about her mom. The hero always figured the kid would ask about her folks eventually. Even prepped some answers. But the question just never came. The guy's got this thoughtful look on his face, wondering if maybe the girl really just didn't care. He tries to tell himself that, but then in the dead of night, he hears the kid calling out softly. The girl, clutching her blanket. Maybe she wasn't indifferent at all. Maybe she was just keeping it all bottled up. Waking up crying, she realizes reality's just as rough as the nightmare, and calls for her mom again. The guy, struggling to find the right words, doesn't want to make things worse, feeling a lump in his throat. The girl, shaking and holding back tears, calls for her mom, and the guy just wearily covers his face, not knowing how to comfort her. He decides titles don't matter right now, letting the girl call him whatever she needs to. She's haunted by the feeling that the guy she knew would have dumped her without a second thought, because he doesn't love her. She asks, hurt, if he ever just wanted her gone like poof out of his life. The guy looks down, struggling to find the right words, totally speechless. In the silence, he says her name again, almost afraid to break the quiet. The girl, eyes still wet, suddenly realizes how important it was that he said her name. The man admits he's an orphan and never knew his parents. He gently touches her head, saying there's never been anyone to care for him, so the whole idea of love is foreign to him. He's honest, saying he still doesn't know how to deal with her, which totally throws her for a loop. The man says sadly that he never wanted to push her away. He thinks all the trouble comes from his own screw-ups, and admits he was clueless to think he could raise her perfectly. The girl, sitting on the bed, tells the guy he didn't do anything wrong. She quietly calls him mommy, and he's totally thrown, asking her to repeat herself. The girl hopefully asks if she can call him mommy, if he doesn't mind. The guy's all confused, pointing out that he's, a dude. He's thinking, like, biologically speaking, this is kinda out there, but still. With a gentle smile, he promises to try his best to be her mommy. He's never one to give in to kids' whims, so this whole thing feels unreal. Right then, the girl gives a weak smile, feeling like she digs the guy's answer. In the fancy bedroom, the guy mentions she looks better and tells her to smile more often. A magic ritual is performed over the girl's bed, and the guy watches the whole thing, looking worried. The tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife as he asks, "So what the hell actually happened?" The girl with the purple braids, looking down, guesses, "Someone must have swiped the medicine." Mayhan whips around, confused, hearing the maid's worried words. Memories flood back to that day when the girl didn't get her medicine on time, and the next day, another maid swore she'd already given it to her. Turns out, that maid was one of the ones who stirred up all the trouble, and when they tried to question her, she was already dead in her cell. The man presses for the cause of death, and the maid hesitantly says, "They're calling it suicide." He doesn't buy the suicide story and asks, "Any leads on the stolen medicine?" "Even though it stinks," he says, "we're going with suicide and keeping it quiet. Nobody else knows about this, right?" He orders the maid to keep everything secret and focus entirely on the young lady's health, and she anxiously agrees. Left alone, Mayhan sinks into grim thoughts, stunned by the audacity of what just went down. He's absolutely furious and can't believe this happened right here, on her own turf. In this fancy room, two guys are talking about how she's doing, saying her pulse is steady and she's reacting to mana okay. There's this pale girl lying in bed, and one of the guys is blown away by how much better she's getting. The green-eyed dude just shrugs and says he didn't really do anything special. He admits he's just been sticking around, hanging out with her for the last few days. The doctor's worried though, saying even though she's improving, the princess is getting weaker every day. Hearing that, the young guy cuts him off real quick, and the doctor apologizes. The young man asks the doctor to give the sick girl even more attention, and he agrees. R, who's sitting on the bed, is surprised, and the man tells her she can pick whatever she wants for dinner. Hearing that, the girl gets super happy and smiles like crazy. The guy's got this gentle look, reaching out to help her up. The girl's face lights up as she happily takes his hand. Right then and there, he decides he's gonna look after her, keep her safe. Childhood buddies are all gathered at the palace, but the air's thick with tension, and the white-haired kid looks totally lost in thought. The other kids are whispering, trying to figure out why His Highness is so down. The boy was wondering how someone could faint so often, and if she was really that delicate. The girl in the pink dress was trying to get the boy to ask something, but he didn't want to. Two boys with golden eyes cautiously asked His Highness what was bothering him so much. The white-haired boy, icy as hell, told them to beat it, making it clear he wasn't in the mood. The friends notice even games can't cheer him up, and they're scratching their heads at his mood. The kid with the red eyes admits something's bugging him. His buddies are all ears, asking what's up, and he starts to explain. He tells them he visited someone who was sick a few days ago, and now he wants to go back. One of his friends is a little surprised, but just says he should go visit them again if he wants to. The kid apologizes to his friends and heads out, determined to do what he's gotta do. The white-haired kid hustles his friend out of the room, leaving the others scratching their heads at the sudden exit. The two golden-eyed boys exchange confused glances, wondering who their friend's rushing off to see. Throwing open the door, the kid's met with a vision of sunshine and good vibes. He looks at the pale girl with worry, asking her how she's doing and about her fainting spells. The kid asks the girl if she's feeling all right and if she forgot about meeting up with the guys, noticing how pale she is. "Oh, right. I totally remember we were supposed to hang out. Hey, what are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be with your buddies? I heard you weren't feeling well, so I came to check on you." Wow, that's really thoughtful. Why would the crown prince, with all his power and everyone wanting his attention, be interested in me? It doesn't make any sense. I missed you, that's why, he says with a little grin. Look, my fainting spells aren't about you. Still, I can't help but worry. I feel like it's my fault you're not doing so hot. I promise I'll take care of you, Arlene, until you're back on your feet. Even breathing feels like a luxury. My whole life is just walls closing in, and this endless ache inside. He's still so young. Maybe this is just a passing thing for him. And me? It's like I'd rather not move at all. Why are you always stuck in your room? I guess. I just like staying put. He's trying to copy Arlene, figuring if she likes it, he should give it a shot too. But the kid can't sit still for even a second, which brings a little smile to her face. His honesty and effort make Arlene smile, and he catches it right away. The girl gazes off thoughtfully, her face lit by a soft glow, her head full of doubts. The white-haired kid notices it's the first time she's smiled, and he's surprised by the change in her, and she reacts nervously to what he says. In the big sunlit room, the girl wonders what's so great about smiling, and the kid doesn't get why she's so hesitant. Elsewhere, a guy with long red hair greets an old friend cheerfully, his voice sounding friendly and warm. At the table, the guy with the green tie is surprised Yaren showed up instead of his Grace, and learns his Grace went to the front lines. The tired-looking guy asks if something happened, but only gets a quick no, which hides the worry. The redhead presses him to tell the truth, promising to handle the job with honor. That green-eyed dude just went ballistic, calling his lordship the absolute worst piece of garbage imaginable. He slams the phone down, totally done with the conversation, while the other guy's all confused, asking if he heard right. Alone in his office, the guy sighs, wishing for some peace and quiet that never seems to come. They're praising the blonde girl for waking up on her own. Everyone's clapping, and she just looks kinda lost. The servants are totally emotional, because it's the first time the young ladies talk to them, and they can't stop crying happy tears. Arlene, book in hand, tells them to leave her alone. But the servant insists she shouldn't be reading. She needs to stay pure and cheerful. The girl, still holding her book, says she doesn't want to go outside. And when the servant asks why, she just says she doesn't feel like it. One of the maids admits that while the lady was out of it, they did a lot of thinking and probably didn't get how she felt, because they were too caught up in their jobs. The green-eyed guy walks in, asking what's going on, and the maid spins around, totally spooked. The servants apologize to Lord Mayhan, saying they just wanted to connect with the young lady, and he wearily asks if they've been bothering her. A little girl in a white dress walks up to Mayhan, looks right at him and says, "Mama!" The room goes dead silent. Everyone's totally stunned by what just happened. The servants are whispering about how the rumors about Mayhan were wrong, but they notice he and Lady Arellen do have something in common. Mayhan sighs, telling them to cut the pointless chatter, saying the lady just needs a mom. One of the maids is freaking out, wondering if Mayhan's trying to replace the lady's mother and grab all the property. He calmly reminds her he already handles the estate's finances. The young guy with the icy stare says he'd better not hear any more of this nonsense. The maid, looking scared, agrees with him. The purple-haired maid sighs, admitting they wish they could be closer to the lady, too. Sir Mayhan's always there, but they're stuck on the sidelines. The guy with the poker face says it's not his problem anymore and tells them to do whatever they want. The servants stand there in total silence, shocked and bummed out by everything. The guy at the desk, shuffling papers, thinks to himself that there's still nobody he trusts more than these people. Ever since the lady started recovering, every untrustworthy employee got the boot, and they've been double and triple checking the mansion's security. The guy's just beat, thinking if he'd planned everything out better, and if the Duke hadn't started this whole mess, he wouldn't be in this bind. A pigeon with a ribbon on its leg taps on the window, while the guy, lost in thought, holds a blue orb in his hands. After getting the letter, the guy opens the window and reads it, totally shocked and not believing how serious it sounds. The white-haired kid in the fancy outfit is in a good mood, quietly stoked about what he's thinking. He's anxiously waiting for his guest to arrive, hoping she shows up soon. The girl in the pink dress happily enters the room, and the boy replies to her question calmly, hiding how he really feels. The white-haired boy remembers having a feeling that someone else would show up after that girl, and the stranger's hesitant walk reminded him of Arlene, but he knows it's not her. He sadly thinks that she probably won't come today either, and his face falls. A girl with long blonde hair and a tired look appears in the doorway, her dress decked out with frills and ribbons. The kid suddenly smiles, recognizing Arlene with pure joy. His eyes light up. He rushes towards her, all excited, while Arlene just stares, totally confused by his reaction. What's gotten into him? Suddenly, the table's covered in fancy desserts, and the kid's practically begging Arlene to try them all, just bursting with happiness. Arlene, face stuffed, looking worn out, wonders how she even ended up in this situation, surrounded by sweets. She remembers that ever since she got stuck in this romance novel, all she wanted was a front row seat to watch everything unfold and enjoy the show. The Crown Prince asks, all curious, what Arlene's thinking about, and she's mentally blaming him for all her problems. The girl sighs, admitting she can't eat another bite of sweets, or she's gonna lose it. Arlene smiles and suggests the Crown Prince should have some too, since he barely ate while he was taking care of her. The Crown Prince calls Arlene an angel, all impressed, and she's just thinking to herself, yeah, right. The Crown Prince happily agrees to eat all the treats Arellen's offering, and she, with a tired smile, tells him to dig in. Arlene watches Pessiona enthusiastically scarf down the sweets, thinking his innocence has been a real saving grace for her. The kids keep on with their tea party, and Pessiona asks if Arlene's learned the whole alphabet yet. She answers hesitantly, holding a book. Arellen admits she's been studying hard, but still thinks the Crown Prince knows way more than she does. The servants whisper to each other, totally baffled, wondering who Arlene is and how she caught the crown prince's eye. Arlene notices how many people are trying to get just a little bit of Pessiona's attention and realizes how popular he is. Arlene watches the prince, thinking he's so simple and helpless as he gets lost in his book. She thinks about how Pessiona's an unusual main character, not like those brooding or arrogant dudes you usually see in novels. The girl snaps herself out of it, deciding to stop daydreaming and get a grip, just as Pessiona speaks to her. The prince, looking a little flustered, asks Arellen to call him by his name, and his gaze softens up. Arellen, a little thrown off, manages to say his name, feeling the awkwardness of the moment. She says Pession's name, and there's something new in her voice. A shy sincerity, a careful closeness. Pession gives a real smile, his face lit up with joy and a little embarrassment. Arlene thinks about going home with relief, remembering how she barely managed to turn down Pession's persistent offer to escort her all the way to the estate. Suddenly, someone's hands appear in front of Arellen, and she freezes in surprise, not understanding what's happening. The girl hears the Empress herself is calling for her, and she nervously looks up, realizing how important this is. Surrounded by white flowers and a radiant glow, Empress Azani appears, dressed in a gorgeous blue gown. With her unmatched beauty and wisdom, she caught the eye of every big shot back in the day, getting offers left and right. Pession's honest and noble character even shows in his surprised expression in the doorway. He got all that from her raising him, and the dark-haired woman smiles, standing in the garden among the flowers. At the fancy table, surrounded by sweets and tea, the two heroines enjoy a chat in a cozy atmosphere. The girl with the long blonde hair looks surprised at the treats, realizing her rough day didn't go unnoticed. The girl with the long blonde hair, even though she's full, politely waits for the adult to eat first, following proper etiquette. The woman in the dark dress smiles, finding the girl's behavior adorable and telling her to eat as much as she wants. At the table, the girl remembers this is their first time alone together, and she's surprised she was so little when they first met. In a funny moment, both women freeze when the conversation touches on a sensitive subject, and the woman remarks that the girl has become even more endearing. The woman, looking thoughtful, remarks how much the girl resembles someone, and it surprises her. She ponders the hidden meaning of what was said, trying to figure out exactly what was implied. The girl is stunned by the sudden realization of a possible connection between Empress Azina and her father. The woman notices her confusion and asks if she has any questions, and the girl cautiously asks why she was invited. With a soft smile, the woman admits she simply wanted to see her. She's saying she invited the girl over to apologize for her son's behavior, since he caused her some trouble. The woman insists her son tried to say sorry, but maybe just made things worse, and casually suggests trying another dessert. A mountain of sweets appears in front of the girl, and she thinks, with despair, that it's way too much. The girl's surprised that the more they talk, the kinder and more welcoming the woman seems. She can't shake the feeling that this woman actually likes her, smiling at her across the table. The woman asks if the girl's having trouble with the other kids, and she admits she's always been physically weak and tries to keep up. The woman listens intently and offers that she can come to her for help if any problems pop up. Arlene's confused, realizing the Empress just said something really important to her. She timidly asks if she can leave the group of noble kids, but gets turned down. The woman, looking tiny, asks, surprised, if someone's picking on the girl, but she awkwardly says that nothing like that is going on. The girl goes quiet, lost in thought when asked if she has any more questions. Finally, she works up the nerve to ask why she was even put in the group in the first place. It's been bugging her forever. Arlene thinks to herself that even though she's the heir to a duchy, she doesn't feel special and isn't sure about what's coming. The woman smiles lightly, saying the reason she's interested is actually pretty simple. The girl sighs, thinking these meetings are only twice a week, but it feels like it's every single day. For this delicate girl, leaving the house twice a week is a real ordeal, and even the distance doesn't protect her from Pessin's prying eyes. She just wants to watch the romance from the sidelines, but the constant stress and exhaustion are getting to her. That desire for some peace and quiet is exactly why she wanted to leave the kids' group in the first place. The woman just smiles mysteriously and says the reason she's in the group is a secret, which only makes the girl more confused. The girl sees something more in her eyes, like she reminds her of someone from her past. A thought flashes through the girl's mind about a possible thing between the Empress and the Duke, and she realizes with surprise that she might be right. Two boys with golden eyes cheerfully greet Aralirin, surrounded by light and flowers. Hearing her name, the girl hurries away to avoid any unwanted attention. She realizes it's too late to hide. The boys are already calling out to her. One of the boys points out that Aralirin's later than usual today, and wonders what she's been thinking about, while she struggles to remember their names. The twins introduce themselves as Ciel and Noel, beaming with friendliness and smiles. The girl thinks to herself that Noel was probably born 5 minutes after his brother. The twins mischievously ask Aralirin if it's true she passes out when she runs, and ask her to show them, making the girl annoyed, thinking she's some kind of circus act. One of the boys holds out a shiny coin, calling it his allowance, and offers it to her. He says the coin is super valuable and asks if she wants another one. But Erliren indifferently refuses, saying she wouldn't run even for 100 of those. The twins are getting all bummed out, thinking she's being a real jerk, and one of them even starts to cry. The girl sighs, thinking that even though they look like angels, these two are total devils on the inside. The twins, all smug, ask if she's fallen for them, totally convinced they're irresistible, and Erliren just stares at them, completely baffled. The twins puff out their chests, saying Erliren's the only one allowed to touch their eyelashes, beaming with self-importance and amusement. The girl thinks to herself that if someone starts blushing or getting nervous, the twins just crank up the pressure. Their intense vibe creates this awkward pause between them and Erliren, like everyone's confused. The girl sees this creepy glint in their eyes and feels super uncomfortable under their intense stare. She sighs and tells them to back off, or at least move a little so she can have some space. Instead, the twins squeeze her even tighter, and Erliren, feeling trapped, desperately repeats her request. The twins are shocked that Erliren's the first one to act so cold towards them, and they figure it's just a sneaky way to get their attention. They start showering Erliren with compliments, calling her cute and charming, and the girl feels awkward in their embrace. Inside, Erliren dreams of getting stronger, so she can handle situations like this, and for the first time, she really wishes she had some power. In that tense moment, a boy with red eyes appears, loudly demanding that the twins back off Erliren. The girl with pink eyes stares ahead in amazement, the name Pession echoing in her thoughts. For the first time, she feels relieved to see Pession, who's rushing to her rescue like a knight in shining armor, and she's stunned by what's happening. Pession defends Erliren, telling everyone to knock it off, and he gets props for standing his ground. One of the boys with golden eyes silently watches the situation, not getting involved. The two boys start arguing, claiming they like Erliren, and the girl herself looks tired and annoyed by their attention. A new question pops up. Is one of the boys jealous because he wants all of Erliren's attention, and he looks embarrassed as he thinks about it? The girl looks at the dark-haired boy in surprise, not understanding what's going on. She and the kid in the blue suit are facing off, and she's getting a seriously weird vibe from this kid. The two boys are saying they get it, and suggest they just ask Erliren what she thinks to settle this. The twins with the gold eyes are grinning, totally convinced Erliren wants to play with them. The kid with the red eyes is all nervous, asking if Erliren will play with him. Erliren, smiling, takes Lord Haroon's hand and announces she wants to play with him, which totally shocks everyone. The three kids with the different colored eyes are stunned and confused by this unexpected twist. In the original story, Erliren was just a minor character, lost in the crowd at the ball. House Halburn, one of the Empire's 5 ducal houses, is shrouded in secrets and mysteries. Despite their immense power, this house is seen as something mystical, like a key hidden deep underwater. Any unexplained event gets blamed on Halburn, using them as a catch-all excuse for all the mysteries. Originally, this family was just a background player, never really standing out. The boy with the white hair and red eyes is all smiles, offering Erliren a huge strawberry cake, asking her to dig in. The two twins from the Sparrows ducal family are grinning too, urging Erliren to try all sorts of sweets, saying everything's delicious. The dark-haired kid from the Muvisk family is silently watching it all go down, holding a cup. A bunch of kids are gathering around the table, and it's clear all the main players are starting to take a real interest in Erliren. Introducing Haroon Berg Muvisk, protector of the crown prince and the Muvisk family's prodigy, who really stands out from the crowd. Erliren, looking at Haroon, suddenly gets why the novel's main girl was head over heels for him. The dude's got a seriously attractive face. The twins are getting salty, noticing Erliren's only got eyes for Haroon, and one of them looks like he's about to lose it. Erliren, a little flustered, is thinking about Haroon, noticing what makes him tick. Memories drift back to thinking about what sets a side character apart: unwavering loyalty. Erliren takes another treat, totally surprised, hoping Haroon will step in and save her from this craziness. The girl gives Haroon a pleading look, begging him for help with her eyes. Haroon catches her glance and suddenly realizes he's got to do something. Erline's crushed when Haroon joins the others instead of saving her, and her scream echoes through the hall. The white-haired kid with the rosy cheeks suddenly leans in close to Erliren, catching everyone off guard. The fight for Erliren's attention at the table keeps going, and one of the boys insists his piece of cake is the best. Haroon, usually so cold and collected, suddenly gets flustered and gentle, and Erliren even forgives him for missing her hint. The twins are all excited, whispering about how the heir is trying to keep Haroon in check, while Erliren's just totally confused. The twins tease the heir, hinting he's jealous of Haroon and wants Erliren all to himself, while she just grips her fork, watching them argue. Erline's blushing from all the attention from the boys, who are teasing each other and her, pointing out who's turning red. The girl slumps back in her chair, exhausted, while the twins keep fussing over her, showering her with attention. A man walks into the room with some papers, looking worried, and asks if everything's all right when he spots Erliren at his feet. Erliren snuggles up to the man, comforted by the warm scent of dried wood. Memories flood back to her, of a past where this man was always there, looking after her since she was a kid. The girl's inner voice calls out for her mom, and she longs for a mother's embrace, finding peace in his gentle touch. The man is thrown for a loop when Arellen calls him mom, and he doesn't know how to respond. He holds the girl tight, letting her bury herself in his arms and feel safe. The man carefully asks Arellen what happened at the meeting with the other kids, while someone off to the side has a horrified reaction to him showing up. Arlene thinks back to the boys, noting their puppy dog eyes, their worrying, and their lack of help, but decides it wasn't a big deal. The man sadly realizes he still hasn't earned her trust, it seems, and Arellen wearily leans against his shoulder. The girl's hoping she can skip the friend meetup this time, and the guy's actually considering it. Arlene's flat out refusing to go hang out, and everyone around her is shocked and worried about how serious she is. The girl realizes she can't just ditch the gathering, not when it's an order from the Empress. The guy, holding Arellen carefully, promises he'll come up with an excuse so she doesn't have to stress about it. Arellen hugs him tight, finally feeling safe and warm in his arms. The girl thinks of him as mom, wishing for that motherly love, while the servants watch the whole thing, totally baffled. The servants and the guard decide they can't let him hog all the young ladies' attention, and they start plotting their next move. The servants and the guard, radiating bad vibes, are getting ready to show Arlene just how pro they are at taking care of kids, totally determined to get her attention back. The day of the friend gathering finally arrives at the palace, full of anticipation and excitement. Even though it's a big deal, she decides to stay snuggled up in her warm bed, enjoying the peace and quiet. Mayhen's keeping his word, taking care of her health, and sending out the official notice that she's taking some time off because she's feeling under the weather. The room's all cozy, sunlight streaming in, and everything's perfect for chilling out. Suddenly, a maid pops in, breaking the peace and quiet by talking to her. The maid's all worried, asking how she's doing, and she's just thinking, if it weren't for these people, she could finally catch a break. She's tired of these clingy servants, thinking she's already had enough of the unwanted attention back at the palace. She realizes, annoyed, that she can't even relax in her own damn house. The kid, all serious, says she's got stuff to do and tells them to lay off. The servants are blown away by that, thinking it's pretty wild for a 7-year-old to say. Figuring she's not going to get any peace here, she decides to get the hell out of Dodge. Meanwhile, the maids start bickering, trying to prove who cares more about their mistress's well-being. The girl eyed the maids warily, knowing they'd ignore her request to leave her alone. She remembered when things were peaceful, the servants' care professional and subtle, but now it felt more like a war zone. The girl gave the butler a suspicious look, expecting him to pull something. Ern, the head butler and chief of security, appeared before her, confident and dedicated. Ern respectfully assured her he wouldn't overstep and was honored to protect the young lady from the shadows. Ern thought to himself that the servants were more determined than ever. Everything was for Lady Arellen, despite her displeasure. The girl listened, surprised and a little confused, to the words meant to reassure her. A dark memory surfaced, the maids putting her down. She wondered if it was really as bad as she remembered. She wondered what happened to those maids who had hurt her. Her thoughts drifted to when Mahan might have gotten rid of those bullies. She hadn't seen them since. Looking back now, she realizes everything's different since then, and she's surrounded by new people. It's like, from the very start, nobody in this house ever looked down on her. Ever since she got back, she hasn't been alone once, always surrounded by care and good company. The butler, with a genuine smile, promises to do everything to make sure she's always happy. It hits her that Mayhin and the childcare team were really going all out for her. She's surprised to realize everyone's been bending over backwards just to see her smile. Just then, a maid finds her, interrupting her thoughts. She feels grateful for all the care she's surrounded with every single day. The girl lies on the bed feeling tired, but it's a good tired, like after a fun hangout. She remembers how the servants were always there, morning, noon, and night, even though they promised to just bring joy. Realizing she couldn't keep living like that, she barely escaped the mansion and knew that at this rate, stress would kill her faster than the disease. In her mind, the nannies were totally off the rails, and trying to reason with them was a lost cause. She thought about Mayhen, but knew he was way too busy to get involved. Seeing no other way out, the girl decided to resort to her last-ditch effort. Two maids stared at the note, surprised and suspecting their young mistress wrote it, and decided to check out what was going on. Arellen showed up in the hall holding a piece of paper, catching the staff's attention with her sudden appearance. She confidently held the sheet with the chart above her head, leaving the maids confused and wondering what was up. The girl explained it was a top praise chart, complete with a set of stickers for a job well done. She announced she'd be handing out praise stickers to those who pleased her, and everyone froze, waiting to see what would happen. The staff realized in dismay that the mistress would now have favorites, and it would be obvious who they were. The maids are totally stoked about these sticker charts with their names on them, like, the lady of the house wrote them herself. They treat them like family heirlooms. A guy walks in, all confused, asking what everyone's up to. He's like, "What's going on? I could hear the racket all the way down the hall." The guy gives the nannies the side eye, suspecting they've been messing with the little lady again. The girl smiles and explains, Mayhin gets a sticker just for being Mayhin. The guy looks at the lady of the house, all soft and a little baffled, realizing how sweet she is. A few days go by, and peace settles over the mansion again. The girl's soaking up the quiet, thinking about how long it's been since she could just chill like this. Since the praise stickers became the hot new thing, the house is finally chill, and the maids are all hyped, comparing their achievements. A steady footstep echoes through the halls, breaking the usual vibe. Arlene notices, surprised, that it's suddenly way too quiet outside, even though it's usually noisy as hell at this hour. A sudden voice breaks the silence, and she listens, surprised, recognizing that familiar sound. A boy with silver hair appears in the huge hall, shouting Arellen's name happily, his voice filling the space with energy and excitement. The white-haired kid in the fancy hall realizes with a sinking feeling that Arellen isn't coming today. The older guy calmly explains that Lady Arlene is feeling under the weather again and won't be able to make it. And the boy gets pissed, remembering this isn't the first time. The boy thinks, damn it, not again. In his mind, he pictures Arellen smiling, even though she never does. The boy's bummed that Lady Arlene isn't here, but the man thinks it's probably for the best. Memories flood back to the boy, back when all he cared about was Lady Arlene, and everyone noticed. The man suggests with a smile that Arlene's absence will cool things down a bit, and offers to hang out with some other friends. The boy sinks into dark thoughts, completely tuning out the world around him. He's freaking out that if Arellen doesn't show today, he'll never see her again. In the kid's memories, he and Arellen are hanging out, even if they're just chilling next to each other. He's picturing Arellen right now, maybe all alone, staring out a window. The kid gets that Arlene likes being by herself, but he hates the thought of her being in that state. He can't shake this nagging feeling, like Arellen could just vanish into thin air. In a fancy-ass hall, a dude's caught off guard by a question about the meaning of loneliness. The kid's at the window, thinking about what loneliness even is, and wishing he could see Arlene right now. He knows Arellen can't just pop up next to him, and he starts to get an idea. Worn out, Arlene sadly greets the boy, surprised he showed up out of the blue. The kid excitedly explains why he's there, and Arellen thinks to herself, this is getting to be a habit. Around Arellen, the kid's getting his spark back, and she's starting to shake off the blues and loneliness. The kid's all pumped, asking Arlene if she wants to hang out, which totally catches her off guard. Arlene's like, wait, what are you talking about? And the kid's stoked to spill the beans on his latest discovery. A few days back, out in the sunny courtyard, the kid was bugging Sir Jade about his secret to staying in such good shape. Sir Jade, a little worried, asks if the kid's feeling okay and wants to know what he's getting at. The kid cops to having a friend who's under the weather and wonders if Arellen would play with him more if she was feeling better. Sir Jade chuckles to himself, thinking about what a sweet and genuine kid he is, always looking out for his friend. First step to getting Arellen back on her feet is getting her on a regular schedule and making sure she gets some shut-eye. Sir Jade gets all enthusiastic, stressing how important exercise is for staying healthy. He explains that you gotta get moving to keep your energy up, and the kid's totally on board. The kid's all pumped, telling Arellen that getting active will make her even healthier. He's saying if she gets enough sleep, eats right, and works out, she's guaranteed to get better, and she's like, totally surprised but agrees. Arlene admits that even just walking makes her dizzy, and the kid realizes with a sigh that there's not much he can do about it. The kid's stoked to tell her about his day, but she's just not feeling it. She thinks to herself that his rambling is kinda cute, so she decides to humor him and listen. The kid asks Arellen, all curious, what she's been up to. Arlene gets flustered, cause he's so close, and asks him to back off a bit. She feels like she's in a trance, and the kid's just mesmerized by her pink eyes. The kid grins and says if Arellen smiled too, she'd be even more gorgeous. Arlene's wondering where this kid learned to talk like that, so smooth. The kid's all hyped, promising to find a reason to see her smile today, but Arellen's flustered, saying that's not what she meant at all. Meanwhile, someone remembers a guy who's got no choice but to grin in the face of serious trouble. The guy with the wolfish glare is pissed that His Highness keeps showing up uninvited, like something's drawing him to this estate. He's holding back, but makes it clear he's not happy, thinking these constant visits are pushing it way too far. The other guy's sweating under the pressure, thinking about his duty and just trying to smile so he doesn't give anything away. Under the starry sky, the kid's fighting back tears, remembering some important words spoken to His Highness. In a fancy hall, two kids are having a blast together, just enjoying the moment. Arellen, feeling under the weather, politely asks the guests to leave and thanks them for coming. The kid gets bummed out by what she says, and Arellen's surprised by his reaction, totally confused inside. Not knowing when they'll meet again, he wishes her all the best until next time. Arlene's surprised and worried by his goodbye, totally not expecting this. The kid admits, all worried, that he'll be super bummed if Arellen stops showing up, and promises to take care of her until she's feeling better. He's all hyped, saying he's gonna come visit her himself now, to cheer her up and keep her spirits high. Arlene's in shock at this plan, feeling deep down that her bad vibes were right on the money. She tries to tell the kid not to worry so much, but he's sticking to his guns, saying he'll be there every single day until she's back on her feet. The girl sighs, thinking she's already had her fill of his pop-ins, and now there's going to be even more. A little voice in her head points out that, even though Peshin's persistent, he's still the crown prince, and daily visits to the estate are pretty much a no-go. Arellen figures she shouldn't take the kid's promises too seriously. He'll probably forget all about it soon enough. The girl closes her eyes, all tired, lost in her own thoughts and doubts. A week goes by, and the kid shows up again, all smiles, proving he didn't forget his promise. The crown prince, eyes sparkling, promises to visit the heroine every day, practically buzzing with excitement. The girl doubts he'll actually show up daily. He'll get bored with it real quick. The next morning, the crown prince is there, asking how she slept, but she just looks tired and surprised. The crown prince bursts into the room, all smiles, reminding her how important a good routine is for her health. He grabs her hand and pulls her out for a walk, saying it's time for her scheduled stroll. The crown prince brings her food with a huge grin, insisting she needs to eat well to stay healthy. The girl points out that even though he's the crown prince, this is her house, since the Halberns are the most powerful of the 5 ducal families. The servants are a mess, watching the crown prince act like he owns the place, totally unsure how to deal with his antics. The maids, full of hope, practically beg the crown prince to take good care of their mistress. The crown prince confidently declares he's totally trustworthy, which just makes the girl even more skeptical. This girl feels totally alone in this huge mansion and can't bring herself to eat, even with the maid begging her. Ever since the crown prince showed up, her meals and her schedule are totally different. He's calling all the shots now. She's shocked to find out that Lord Mayhen gave the okay for all this. She grudgingly admits that all these changes in her life happened because Mayhen signed off on them. The crown prince is all hyped up, talking about how important a balanced diet is for your health. The girl just sighs, wondering if those words are monster names or some kind of spell, feeling like the crown prince won again. The maids are freaking out about how cute the prince and their lady look together, saying he's head over heels, and the nanny situation is a lost cause. The servant speaks to the crown prince, a little hesitant, wondering what the next move is. The girl pulls herself together and decides she needs to set some bigger goals for herself. The crown prince suggests going for a walk, reminding her how good exercise is for you. He holds out his hand, waiting for her to join him. The crown prince smiles, wondering what she's about to say. Even though he's young, Pesio is considered part of the imperial family and heir to the throne, so his schedule's packed with important stuff. She thinks about how the crown prince spends all his free time visiting her, even though he's got so much on his plate, and figures it's really not necessary. The girl looks at the boy, surprised and confused, not understanding why he's asking her this out of the blue. The boy smiles genuinely, explaining that they're friends, so they gotta see each other every day. Looking tired, the girl wonders why he cares so much about her, since he's already got a million things going on. The boy confidently takes her hand, emphasizing that he comes to her because he wants to. He happily admits that he loves hanging out with her. Still surprised, the girl realizes how lonely it would be stuck at home without him. "Hey, Erlyn, come on!" The kid's totally pumped, dragging her down the hall. She's lost in thought, wondering if she's ever had a real friend. She remembers holding someone's hand, but still feeling totally alone. Faces from the past flash by, people all around her, but none of them bringing her any joy. Proving herself was always more important than playing with other kids, so she trained like crazy to be the best. The other kids felt like they couldn't measure up, and just bailed. She's sitting next to the boy, who's acting all casual, saying how perfect they are together, and name-dropping her famous mom. Before she can even process it, she's yanked off her feet, and a violin's lying on the floor. She stops caring about having normal relationships, clutching that violin case like it's her lifeline. From day one, all she ever needed was her mom. The girl smiles, remembering how happily she called for her mom, because she was all she needed. But in the end, even that one precious person left her, leaving her with a sense of betrayal and loneliness. The girl, with a scared and lost look, hears a warning not to expect anything more from life. Curled up on the bed, she wonders if she should even bother remembering her past, if things are just gonna stay like this. The boy, with an outstretched hand and a bright smile, reminds her of friendship, filling her memories with light. The girl, clinging to someone, doesn't understand why she should get close to people who are just gonna disappear from her life anyway. The young man in glasses asks, surprised, not understanding what's being talked about. Another man, looking thoughtful, expresses concern about whether there might be trouble if His Highness keeps visiting. One of the servants is surprised, noting that Master Mayhen is showing interest in such matters, watching his thoughtful face. The servant wonders how Master Mayhen could easily put an end to the Crown Prince's visits, and wonders why he hasn't. The girl's wondering if she should even bother going to this hangout. She figures a lady needs friends her own age, or she'll end up feeling totally alone. Looking thoughtful, the guy assures her it'll all work out, 'cause kids grow up and figure things out on their own. At his desk, the boss says that for a young guy, he sure knows a lot about kids, and the guy explains it's 'cause he's got a ton of nieces and nephews. In the garden by the big house, the boys asked if he saw Duke Halburn today, and he happily says he did. The boy says after seeing the Duke, he studied and trained, and the woman says he had a busy day and asks how Eremlin's doing. Hearing Eremlin's name, the boy perks up and smiles, thinking about her. He explains that she's still not feeling up to going outside, but he hopes she's getting better, even though she's always got this mysterious look on her face. The woman gently strokes the boy's head, calling him by name. She warns him not to be too nice to Eremlin, and the boy's surprised, asking why not. This blonde girl with the long hair keeps walking, while someone's thinking you can only love her as much as you're allowed to. Don't get too attached to that girl, a woman says with a cold smile, so you can walk away when the time comes. At a fancy table, a dark-haired woman and a silver-haired boy are having a serious talk, loaded with hidden meanings and careful words. Alone, the boy's torn up, wondering why Her Majesty said those things, and if she really doesn't like Erelin. He's in denial, can't believe what he heard, and desperately tries to convince himself it's not true. Even though he's doubting, the boy decides that if Erelin shapes up, maybe Her Majesty will change her mind too. He clenches his fists and heads down the fancy hall, determined to do whatever it takes for Arlene. Meanwhile, the blonde girl thoughtfully holds her cup, sensing something weird, like changes are coming. The prince is booking it down the path, and the guy with him is struggling to keep up, thinking he should have given up by now. Back then, the boy tried to cheer Erelin up, but she just didn't care about anything he did. Erelin's so bummed out, she's locked herself in her room, and everyone outside is worried sick, asking if she's okay. The servants notice the ladies in a foul mood, and suggest the kid play with them instead, since Erelin's avoiding everyone. The kid bursts in, announcing his arrival, all hyped up and full of hope. Erline peeks out from behind the door, looking totally drained, while the servants greet the prince and wish everyone a good morning. The kid happily rushes to greet Erelin, but the maid awkwardly mentions she's not feeling great. His friendliness and charm catch everyone off guard, and Erelin watches it all unfold from behind the door. The kid suddenly spots Erelin peeking out from her hiding spot. The girl freaks out, realizing she let her guard down for a second and got caught. The kid throws the door open, not giving Erelin a chance to hide back in her room. Seeing her after so long instantly puts him in a good mood, while Erelin's just standing there, speechless and a little lost. The kid and the girl are walking down the hall. He's asking her if she's okay, but she's silent, barely keeping up. He's smiling, telling Erelin about the great weather and the beautiful sky, trying to cheer her up. The girl's thinking that this guy's nothing like anyone she knows, and the more time they spend together, the more it hurts. The kid notices Arlene's gone quiet and asks, worried if she's doing all right. Arlene's inner voice is agonizing over why he doesn't seem to notice or care that she's being so cold and distant. She doesn't get why he's trying so hard with her, and his genuine concern is just making things worse. The kid's surprised and asks again, like he can't believe she's talking to him. Looking tired, Arlene asks if he's even listening to her. They both freeze, confused, while everyone around them stares at their conversation. A voice in her head reminds her that even though the crown prince is friendly, they're still worlds apart. Arlene eyes the kid with a smirk, thinking about the weight of this whole class divide and the anger he's holding back. The kid's psyching himself up, thinking this is finally his shot to prove what he's made of. The kid's stoked that Erelin's finally loosening up around him and ditching the formal talk. He's digging her casual vibe, but Erelin's thrown off because this isn't how things were supposed to go. The girl's freaking out, realizing she's been acting too familiar with royalty, and she knows that's a no-no. She's telling herself to get it together, so she doesn't fall under his spell again. Erelin declares she's done with the casual stuff, and it's strictly business from now on, which totally throws the kid for a loop. It's a funny back and forth as Erelin stubbornly refuses to leave, no matter what he says. The girl's confused and annoyed that her attempts to be rude aren't working, since people usually back off right away. The kid's plotting how to make Passione want nothing to do with him, ever again. The kid, totally wiped, buries her face in the guy's lap, and he gently calls out to her. The man watches her calmly, thinking how he's gotten used to this, when she just runs out of steam. She snuggles up to him and calls him mommy, and he just silently acknowledges it. The man smiles a little, thinking she knows damn well who he really is, but still calls him mommy, and he's grateful she keeps it together around other people. Hugging him tight, the kid asks him to grant her a wish, 'cause she's been such a good girl today. The man chuckles, saying with that many gold star stickers, maybe he's the one who deserves a wish granted. Erelin looks him in the eyes, full of hope, and asks him to read her a bedtime story. The man's surprised, asking if she really wants a story, and figures it's not a big deal. He assures her he's got plenty of time to read her a bedtime story, even though he's busy. The man says softly that he'll always make time for her, and wonders if maybe he's actually doing a decent job as her guardian. This guy's walking down some fancy-ass hallway, thinking he's getting asked to do the same damn thing way too often. This girl, looking totally wiped, is begging him to keep Peshin out of here, clearly feeling super awkward. The guy's running the numbers, remembering the report said everything was on track, but figures maybe Dylan missed something. They ask the girl if she doesn't like His Highness, but she says it's not about that at all. The kid, all smiles, admits he's feeling weird, even though Peshin's a really nice dude. The girl sadly admits that being around someone like Peshin just makes her feel like a total screw-up. The guy gets it, saying that even though she looks like a kid, sometimes she's anything but. The girl thinks to herself that she's running out of time, and if Peshin gets any closer, it'll only bring him heartache. She takes off, and the guy's left wondering what the hell's coming next. The guy's watching all this go down, totally intrigued, and in his head, he's calling out to Mayhan. The kid, all innocent-like, asks for a story with a sweet little smile. The Empress Azine's handpicking this group of kids, like she's setting up pieces on a chessboard. Prince Peshin's still got all the kids buzzing around him, soaking up the spotlight like always. One of the boys, totally bored with the same old thing, flips the chessboard over in frustration. The twins are sprawled on the couch, whining about being bored, and the adults are seeing them look this lost for the first time. One twin's staring at the ceiling, lost in thought. The other's heads down, both totally spaced out. The twins are figuring out why they're so bored, hinting it's because of something that really matters to them. The twins are bummed and bored because Arellen's not around. They remember her super fondly. In their memories, they're having a blast, because with Arellen, they always had fun, especially when they were messing with His Highness. One of the twins drops a surprise on the other, hinting at something big. Turns out, His Highness was sneaking around with Arellen behind our backs. The twins are totally shocked and pissed. Feeling betrayed, the twins decide they gotta get even for this. They're cooking up some nasty plans, gonna stalk His Highness all day, and show him what happens when you try to cut them out. His Highness's day kicks off with lessons on how to be the next big cheese, and the twins are watching like hawks. Next up, it's tea time with Empress Azini, all smiles and lighthearted chatter. Then it's time for fencing practice, where His Highness is dueling with his instructor, and the twins are still on the case. While they're watching the fight, the twins are wondering, when the heck does His Highness even find time to hook up with Arellen? Even though they're beat, they decide to stick with it, because their top-secret surveillance mission has gotta be completed. The instructor notices that His Highness seems especially distracted and troubled compared to last time. The Crown Prince admits something's bugging him, and he looks all pensive and worn out. At the first meeting of Arellen's health committee, they're hashing out what's been bugging him about the young lady. Everyone's racking their brains about how to help Arellen. Her well-being's become a major concern for them. One of the guys chimes in with, healthy body, healthy mind, and the others are totally on board with that. The Crown Prince agrees with the idea, but he's stumped on how to get Arellen to work out, since she's always complaining about feeling dizzy. One of his buddies straight up tells him to just do it, give her a push. Suddenly, the guy has an epiphany, and his face is all shock and determination. He's scribbling down his thoughts like crazy, positive he's finally figured it all out, while everyone else just stares at him, confused. This girl, Arellen, looks totally lost and worried, hiding her face in her hands. The guy, all fired up, runs over to Arellen, urging her to start working out, even though she's wiped. He spills the beans about his big discovery, promising that exercise will make her healthier. But Arellen's not exactly thrilled with his enthusiasm. The kid just grabs Arellen and starts dragging her out for a walk, even though she's exhausted and scared she'll pass out again. The kid just scoops Arellen up in his arms like it's nothing, and she's totally surprised by how strong he is. Arellen's blown away, wondering if it's even normal for a 7-year-old to have that kind of crazy strength. The kid grins and asks, all happy, if this works for her. Together, they head outside, all bright and excited for their walk. Once they're out, the kid notices Arellen's always alone, and wonders what's up with that. Arlene thinks about her family, remembering that Mayhan isn't just her nanny. She's like a real mom to her. The kid gets all bummed out and admits he doesn't have anyone, because he's never even met his dad. He gets all awkward after that, not knowing what to say to make her feel better. Arlene's a little surprised, but she tells him she's fine, even though things are kinda weird now. The kid's kinda nervous, trying to explain how he feels, searching for the right words. Out of nowhere, he says he'll be there for her, and Arellen's genuinely surprised. The kid's all confident, saying she doesn't need stuff like family, because now she's got him. Arlene's zoning out, looking at the sky, feeling a little flutter inside. She realizes she's not used to people looking out for her, and then she feels a warm hand. A real smile spreads across her face, the first time her eyes have lit up like that in ages. Her inner doubts take shape as a dark reflection, questioning if she can really trust him. The shadow reminds Arellen she's got to be responsible for her own life and not rely on anyone else. She remembers all the crap she went through to learn that lesson and grips her inner self's hand tight. Arellen jumps back, freaked out as a hand reaches for her, her face twisted with worry and confusion. The kid's looking at Arlene, all confused and worried, like he just doesn't get it. The girl clenches her fist, thinking that all this crap is her problem and hers alone. She feels trapped, figures she's just gonna end up 6 feet under, and quietly whispers Peshin's name. Arlene says, her voice cracking, that she doesn't want to see His Highness anymore, and he's all, why? She turns away, knowing that even if she tried to explain, Mr. Popular over there would never understand how lonely she feels. The evening garden's all shadowy, and the kid politely asks her to not come back here, like he's saying goodbye. He tries to argue, but his voice shakes, and Arlene's name just bursts out of him, full of pain. The The twins in black cloaks are watching all this go down, totally shocked. Tears are streaming down the kid's face, and everyone's freaking out because His Highness is crying. In the fancy hall, two maids are gossiping about how His Highness is acting normal, even though one of them's never seen him like this before. One of the maids is wondering if the prince was crying. If he was, something big must have happened. But Mr. Green says there were no tears. This guy in the fancy suit is realizing with a jolt that we've got a situation. Normally, the prince is easy to please. Just give him gifts, have the staff do circus tricks, or get the imperial chef to whip up something fancy. But today, the crown prince is totally different. He's just sitting alone with his cat, lost in his own head. The guy carefully asks the prince to tell him what happened back at the Halburn estate. The crown prince doesn't say a word. He just turns away, completely zoned out. The guy gets it. The prince still isn't ready to talk about whatever went down. He was so cheerful this morning, and now everyone's totally in the dark. Unlike the noisy palace, where everyone's busy trying to cheer up the crown prince, the atmosphere here is full of worry and anticipation. Ereline, the girl the crown prince brought out of that house, came back alone and locked herself in her room for 3 hours. Everyone's scratching their heads. The servants are gossiping that they saw His Highness with the Sparoma twins, and all 3 of them looked equally freaked out. From now on, only one person is allowed in the room where the truth is hidden. The man silently watches the maids, one of whom looks at him with worry. He wearily covers his face with his hand, feeling a splitting headache. Getting the letter from the palace, he knew something big went down, and now he's at the girl's bedside talking to her. He never thought Ereline would be in such a state. Her eyes filled with tears. The man thinks about how tough it is raising kids, because even with the right knowledge, their behavior is always a wild card. The maids agree with each other, backing up his thoughts about the hardships of raising kids. The serious young man announces that the lady is going through a rough patch right now and asks everyone to be more considerate. One of the maids enthusiastically remembers how the lady really enjoyed the play and looking at pictures of world landmarks last time. The girl with purple hair is surprised by the suggestion to let Mr. Mayhen and Lady Arellen spend the day together. The guy's explaining his idea isn't about being lazy, it's about when the lady seems genuinely happy. Awkward silence descends on the table, and one of the people there is mentally calling the girl's words ridiculous. But in the end, despite the commotion, the guy calms everyone down, saying everything's cool. The meeting wraps up in the huge hall, and the servants scatter, leaving a feeling of emptiness behind. The young guy realizes, with a jolt, that her happiness is tied to him being around. He remembers that even though she's attached to him, he and Arlene don't really share that many memories. The guy figures that the kid's probably going through way more than he realized, and he's kicking himself for being so clueless. He heads down the corridor, deciding it's too early to be dwelling on what could have been. The girl, all alone, notices how quiet it's gotten, and she feels the loneliness creeping in. The girl's lying in bed, and a soft beam of light shines on her through the window. She remembers how her mom used to call her sunshine, and those words still echo in her soul. The image of her mother flashes in her mind, the woman for whom her daughter was the only hope and the embodiment of a dream. Mom was once a talented violinist, full of hope and dreams. A fight erupts in the house, filled with accusations and pain, where blame and regret are thrown around. For the parents, the birth of their gifted daughter was a godsend, but their story ended in tragedy. The mother supports her daughter during music lessons, instilling confidence in her and comparing her to herself. She only asks one thing of her daughter: to keep playing well, not ruining her dream like her father did. The girl agonizes, wondering if her mom knew how hard she was trying and if she saw her despair. A conviction grows in the child's heart that her mother never really loved her. The mother's gaze turns cold, and disappointment rings in her words. On the international stage, under the blazing lights, her mom couldn't hide the disappointment and hurt. That day, with a stone-cold face, her mom just walked out on her, like it was meant to be. Her dad told her she really let her mom down, put her through hell. Now she's alone in her room, free to do whatever the hell she wants. Then, they announce her as the winner of the international competition. And her dream comes true after all that crap. She's standing in front of the screen, realizing she finally made it after all this time. On stage, bathed in the spotlight, she sees her mom smiling and can't believe it's actually her. A cold shadow of despair falls over her. Lost in questions, hearing that little voice telling her to just give up. That voice inside is tearing her apart, saying nobody wants her. Everyone's abandoned her, and tears start welling up. She's lying in bed, realizing the messed up irony of her whole life. A memory flashes. A kid who used to say her name, just pure joy. Tears run down her face as she faces the idea that this is it. She grips the sheet, knowing this is really the end. But deep down, she doesn't want to end up like her mom. In the quiet of the night, a guy shows up in the doorway, and she's all surprised and worried. He sits next to her, gently touching her shoulder, and his being there just fills the room with light and care. His eyes are so gentle as he suggests they spend tomorrow together, go for a walk. The young dude stares at the papers in his hands, totally confused, like, what's going on? Yesterday, this desk was buried in documents and reports. A total mess. Looked like a war zone. Now there are travel brochures, lists of candy store addresses, flyers for events. How did everything change overnight? The guy with the long blonde hair carefully looks at one of the bright postcards, thinking about the trip coming up. He points out that the chosen spot's close to the capital, known for its great reputation and amazing scenery. Good thing the trip will be quick, so if the lady's condition worsens, we can get back ASAP. One of the guys grabs his cloak, ready to head out soon. The young man bows, wishing them a pleasant journey. Down the long, bright hallway, the cloaked man walks away. And the thought of his sudden disappearance feels weird. A voice inside him says this action shows how deeply he cares about the young lady. Left alone, the young man goes back to his papers, trying to convince himself there's nothing to worry about. Outside, amidst the sunshine and flowers, a long-haired man escorts a little girl in a fancy dress, getting ready for the trip. The long-haired fair man thinks about how long it's been since he went anywhere not for work, and is glad to chill a bit while walking with Erlyn. The big-eyed girl turns to him, waiting for him to pay attention. He gently adjusts her hat, noticing their coats are a similar color, and the girl looks back, slightly puzzled. The man smiles, wondering if matching outfits are a good thing, and agrees that they're totally twinning today. They end up in a bustling area packed with people. It's a real tourist trap. The girl notices water under her feet and is totally confused. The man explains that the city of Sarit is built over a lake and protected by a magic barrier. And legend says a monster lives in the lake. The girl suddenly calls out, "Dad!" grabbing his attention. A family with a kid passes by, and the man and girl continue their walk through the lively place. He thinks about how many families come here and wonders if he should offer the lady a piggyback ride. The girl stares silently at the water beneath her feet, hesitant to take a step. She feels safe because Mayhan's right beside her, holding her hand tight. The girl in the fancy dress, looking all thoughtful, remembers she was promised someone would finally be her mom. The dude with the long blonde hair, looking a little flustered, agrees with her, admitting it's true. He's thinking why does he even need to say he'll be her dad when it's obvious? Then he scoops her up in his arms. The girl admits she likes Mayhan way more than the father she's never met, and she feels safe with him. After a tasty treat, they're chilling together, waiting for the fountain show, soaking up the festive vibes. The guy spots a flower stand and suggests grabbing some pretty flowers to make his companion happy. Erlyn looks at the bouquet of white lilies with tenderness and awe, feeling grateful for the gift. She's thinking she needs to be good, 'cause her mom worked so hard, and she's proud of being a smart kid. The guy's stoked that the girl's mood has lifted, and he watches her happiness with relief. Our line says that all the good stuff happening to her is only possible because of Mayhan. Inside, she's begging not to be written off just yet, feeling a knot of anxiety about what's coming. She asks him to leave her a few flowers, because they're the first she's ever gotten as a gift, which really throws him for a loop. The girl clutches the lilies, knowing deep down this thing she's got isn't gonna get better, and she doesn't have much time left. She asks him if that's why he was keeping his distance, but he tells her that's not it at all. A sadness washes over her face, because she doesn't want to end up alone in some place nobody ever visits. The guy just stares at her, totally speechless, completely floored. An entertainer walks up, inviting them to join a father-daughter activity, which catches them both off guard. The guy's wiped and wants to pass, but the girl's all hyped to give it a shot. Clutching her flowers, the girl is practically bouncing, begging to join the contest, and the host hands them some forms to fill out. The entertainer tells everyone about a princess locked in a tower and invites them all to join the game. All right, folks. The twist is, the princesses are the ones being held captive in this challenge, and the kids gotta bust them out. To win, the players need to snag all the puzzle pieces and become the heroes of the mansion. And now, our host is super hyped to introduce our little heroes, ready to face whatever comes their way. The parents are all choked up, watching the scene unfold, but that dude in the gold uniform looks totally thrown off. He's sweating it, wondering if someone in the manor blabbed something they shouldn't have, and decides he needs to have a serious chat with her about this. Whoa, hold up! Something's not right. He stops dead in his tracks, totally suspicious. Out of nowhere, this figure pops up, and he's scrambling to figure out what the heck is going on. In the grand hall, the two face off, and you can cut the tension with a knife. The white-haired kid with the red eyes is stunned, staring at the guy like he's seen a ghost, and the silhouette just blurts out, "Peshin?" Totally baffled why he's there. The game's on at the mansion, and these players are gonna have to unlock the secrets and solve some crazy puzzles. Turns out, things are way more complicated, 'cause a huge dark wolf shows up in the fancy halls. The wolf lunges, snarling like crazy and raising a paw. The white-haired girl spots the dude in the wolf suit no problem and catches him. The girl with the key walks up to the door, hoping this key's the one. The white-haired girl unlocks the door and bam, runs right into a boy with the same white hair and red eyes. She stares at the guy, totally surprised to see him here. They both stand in the doorway, recognizing each other in the mansion's dim light. The white-haired boy quietly says the girl's name, not hiding his shock. A happy smile spreads across the guy's face when he realizes who it is. The girl with the key in her hand slams the door shut behind her, moving on. The white-haired girl's tripping out, 'cause the dude she just bumped into is supposed to be chillin' at the Emperor's crib. She's playing it cool, trying to slip away down the hall, hoping this whole thing blows over. Suddenly, she hears someone yell her name and freezes, totally caught off guard. She bolts down the long hall, not even looking back. The white-haired guy's hunting for her, and she's hiding behind some furniture, breathing heavy from the rush. White hair pounces on her out of nowhere, kind of freaking her out with his intensity. The girl's trying to ditch him, but this kid's chasing her around the room with some serious pep in his step. She glances back, sees he's still right on her tail, keeping on calling her name. The dude grabs her by the shoulder, stopping her dead in her tracks. She looks over, all freaked and surprised, realizing she's been cornered. The white-haired dude bolts towards the massive door, clearly planning to keep the chase going. The white-haired girl didn't want to go into this creepy and gloomy place. She's feeling beat and weak, cursing her fragile body. The girl's breathing hard, trying to pull herself together and not freak out. Suddenly, startled, she grabs onto something big, bracing for anything. The girl's desperately trying to stop someone, not wanting another door smashed down. She finally freezes in front of the closed door, letting out a relieved breath. The white-haired guy smiles, making sure it's really Arline in front of him. The white-haired girl stands at the door and wonders why he's here. Shouldn't he be back at the palace? She doesn't deny what he says, meekly confirming her intentions. She's getting flashbacks to being told she wasn't welcome here. Awkward. Dude turns away, tells her to just leave him alone, wants some space. White-haired girl closes her eyes, thinking eventually everything will click. The guy clenches his fist, dead set on not backing down. Girl's surprised by his stubbornness, totally didn't see that coming. The kid says he's just more comfortable this way, but she's all, seriously? Is that the truth? He promises if she needs to be alone, he'll bounce and won't bother her again. The girl's left in the dark, silently dealing with her feels. White-haired girl can't wrap her head around why he's doing so much for her. The kid stares off into the distance, trying to figure out why he does the things he does. Flashback time. She's telling him to just stay away, never come back. She's standing there all alone, hands clenched tight, totally bummed out. She figures someone who's always been loved and never dumped just can't get what she's feeling. He gets it now. Erlen's always been scared of being alone and hiding how she really feels. This white-haired kid staring at the ground, totally lost in his own head. He's gotta admit, he just can't leave her hanging, no matter what. She thinks she's nobody special, doesn't get why he'd feel that way about her. He's telling her she is important to him, that without her, all his buddies are just meaningless. She's blown away by what he's saying, finally realizing how much she matters to him. This white-haired dude's by the door, admitting to himself that she's not really into him. The girl with the white hair, standing on the other side of the door, gets it too. The guy admits that everything he does is because of how he feels about her. He remembers all those times he wanted to tell her something real. He confesses he thinks about her a lot, wondering if she misses him as much as he misses her. She looks at him with a small smile, knowing that to him, she's the only one that matters. The girl with the white hair smiles, feeling a warmth and a light inside. She realizes all her thoughts and feelings keep coming back to the same guy. The white-haired dude begs her not to drift away, his voice totally sincere. She notices his shaky breath, and her heart just clenches. Erline can't hold back the tears, not understanding why she's so overwhelmed. Her hands shaking as she grips the doorframe in the dark. Slowly, she opens the door, letting a blast of light into the room. Aurel peeks out, her eyes all teary and confused. Peshin's standing there, looking surprised and worried. Aurel's just standing in the doorway, eyes down, and Pession's watching her, looking anxious. The guy's saying, like he really means it, that he's not afraid of anything when he's with her. Peshin stays put, right by the door, laying his feelings bare. She drops her gaze, her face a mess of doubt and sadness. Errol's trying to play it cool, acting like nothing's wrong. Peshin's grinning, all bright and confident, like the hero who's putting his heart on the line. Ariel looks down, admitting to himself that he understands the truth better than anyone. The girl decides to take a step forward, letting herself show her feelings, just this once. She comes out from behind the door, heading towards the guy, despite her inner doubts. Aurel sadly says that she doesn't like Peshin, hiding her true feelings. The guy smiles, trying to show that he's okay. Peshin smiles genuinely and carefree, like his heart is full of light. Ariel looks at him in surprise, feeling her thoughts pulled between fear and hope. The girl and boy stand facing each other, their hands gently touching. The guy and girl fall into an awkward silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Peshin keeps beaming with joy, while Aurel shyly looks away. She's giving him the side eye, asking why he's even here, and he's scrambling for excuses, saying he'll make it up to her. Peshin answers Aurel's question about how he found her, kinda hinting that someone ratted her out. He's like, "Whoa, Aurel, you're getting around pretty good for someone who hates walking." And she just pretends she's busy. This kid with silver hair and crazy red eyes throws open this old chest, and wood splinters and dust explode everywhere. Aurel cracks the code, and Peshin's stoked, saying this map could lead them straight to the princess's room. She's pressing him for the game details, and he explains that someone else is playing the princess, and she showed up with Sir Maheno. Peshin's surprised, guessing she decided to hoof it for kicks. They're play acting, with the dude and some other guy in a dress doing their best princess and rescuer routine. And it's kind of funny. Peshin suddenly tenses up, 'cause he heard something that didn't sound right. He's freaked out, saying the statue in the hall totally just moved. Both heroes are stunned, realizing the statue actually moved. The girl and boy glance around warily, feeling the tension in the air rising. Arel, trying to stay calm, suggests to Pession that they head to another room. A bright flash of lightning rips through the space, filling the room with an ominous vibe. Peshin looks at the girl with concern as a magical rift crackles behind her. A burst of magic tears through reality, and Arel and Pession get sucked into a vortex of energy. The guy stares at what's happening in horror, unable to believe his eyes. The girl reaches for him, trying not to let go of his hand, but a magical rift separates them. Peshin finds himself in a new place, looking around confused and calling for his mom, surrounded by an unsettling silence. The boy hears screams and focuses on what's going on around him, his face tight with anxiety. The guy rushes up to Pession, all worried, asking what happened and trying to figure out what's going on. He's freaking out, says even the head mage can't figure out what's causing the mansion's magic to go haywire. Peshin's pressing for details, and they explain that because of the breakdown, they had to search for the kids themselves. Mayhen's in a panic, asking if Arelin's still inside. Realizing how messed up this is, Longhair's totally lost, trying to figure out what they're even talking about. Errol wakes up in the dark, feeling weak and disoriented. She slowly gets to her feet, trying to figure out what happened and where she is. Arel senses danger and shoves Peshin away at the last second, leaving herself alone in the creepy room. She realizes that without Pession, that safe feeling's gone, and now one wrong move could be the end of her. Suddenly, some weird glowing thing appears in front of her, and she's totally terrified. She's freaking out, hiding under the table, trying to get away from whatever's out there. Errol's gut is screaming at her that this ain't no human. It's something else entirely. The kid's losing it, thinking this whole thing is messed up and shouldn't be happening to her. Errol's shaking like a leaf, clutching her sleeve, trying not to cry. She freezes, hearing footsteps coming closer in the dark. A stranger's silhouette appears in the doorway, surrounded by this creepy light. Outside the mansion, they're getting worried, asking what happened to the guards who vanished. Mayen's demanding answers from the mage, hinting at some shady documents they found. Someone's hand is glowing with magic, and the guy's totally lost, wondering why this weird stuff is happening to him. The mage tells Mayhen the barrier around the mansion is layered and super complex. Mayhen's demanding answers, and the mage is stammering, trying to explain himself in front of this glowing barrier. This force field's impenetrable. Trying to get through is a total waste of time. Arel realizes with a jolt that the mansion's become cut off from the real world. A stranger with yellow eyes and a creepy grin appears in front of Arel. Scared and alone, Errol hides under the table as the guy with the cold eyes walks towards her across the brightly lit room. A familiar building pops into view, but now it's in some other messed up dimension. The guy explains to the girl that this place is like an alternate reality. You end up here under certain circumstances, like it's part of the cosmic plan. Even though the space seems familiar, the layout's totally different, twisted and alien. The long-haired dude recognizes this place with a bad feeling, and his face is all messed up with worry. The guy figures out that this isn't just some parlor trick. It's the work of someone way more powerful. The long-haired dude's totally changing the subject. Something else is bugging him. You can see the worry in his eyes as he turns to the girl with the golden sunset behind her. They're face to face now, and you could cut the tension with a knife. Shorthair's thinking hard, real cautious about what's going down. Suddenly, bam! A huge magic barrier flares up in front of them, all fire and runes. The two onlookers are totally lost, staring at the blazing barrier like, how is this even happening? People are scrambling to reinforce the barrier, and someone's rushing to find Master Jansen in all this chaos and fire. Mayhen's watching all this with serious concern, a bead of sweat's rolling down his face. Errol's frozen, staring straight ahead, her eyes wide with fear and shock. The white-haired girl's shaking, hiding under the table, and some dark figures looming over her. The guy with the golden eyes turns ice cold, his face hidden in shadow. The girl clenches her fists. You can see the tension eating her up inside. The little girl feels like a defenseless lamb, staring down a predator, whose eyes are glowing in the dark. Errol shrinks back under the table as a hand reaches for her, and you can see the worry in her eyes. The golden-eyed man leans in close, a mysterious smile playing on his lips. The guy with the predatory gaze and wicked grin watches her, not even trying to hide how much he thinks he's got the upper hand. Errol freezes up under the table, scared stiff as magical chains burst into existence around her. She feels like her body's going numb, and it hits her. Someone just used magic on her. The golden-eyed man just stares at her with this creepy, knowing smile, and his calmness is even more terrifying. The girl looks down, feeling like their eyes just locked, and her heart starts pounding in her chest. She looks away, embarrassed, not daring to lift her head. The white-haired girl, still wary, sits on the floor before the stranger towering over her in the gleaming hall. The white-haired girl, flustered and cautious, eyes the guy warily, asking a weird question. He suddenly leans forward, holding back a laugh, and the girl watches him, totally confused. The guy leans in closer, intrigued, his gaze softening, but the girl's still on guard. The man's surprised she can even see him, since he thought he'd purged all life from this place. A sly smile lights up his face, 'cause usually everyone just blacks out the second they get here. Errol looks up anxiously as a hand looms over her, and darkness gathers around. The man sits across from the girl, leaning on his hand thoughtfully, and asks her a question out of the blue. His gaze turns lazy and playful, a mysterious smile playing on his lips. This dude's staring at Errol, like, really thinking about going through with whatever she's afraid of. The girl's totally freaking out, positive her worst nightmare's about to come true. The guy smirks, agreeing, and his words sound extra messed up in this shiny room. Golden Eyes gives her this cryptic smile, his moves all hinting at something else. Aurel's shocked when the guy gets up, can't believe he's actually gonna let her walk. Seizing the chance, the guy asks her about anything weird or out of place she's seen around here. The girl points down the hall, explaining where she spotted something strange. The guy raises an eyebrow, a slight smile playing on his lips, asking if that's for real. He thanks the girl for her help, offering her his hand like he's grateful. Errol's staring at the Easter egg in her hands, totally confused why he's giving it to her. Listen, get a grip on this thing and get the hell out of here. Run the other way, now! The girl's totally lost, standing there alone, trying to figure out what the heck he meant about being saved. She watches his shadow disappear, feeling a wave of dread and loneliness wash over her in this empty hall. Suddenly, a glowing shield pops up around Errol, and she realizes, like, whoa, this thing in her hands has some serious power. A massive explosion erupts in the middle of the room, blinding flashes of light going everywhere. Errol's freaking out, clutching the egg tight, her face twisted with terror as things go completely sideways. The girl's trapped inside the glowing shield, and it's actually protecting her from all that crazy destruction. The shield, with Aurel inside, crashes through the cracks in the floor, leaving a trail of wreckage behind. The white-haired girl is lying there, totally spent, her hair spread out on the floor, barely able to breathe. She struggles to open her eyes, not knowing what just happened. Am I a goner? She wonders. Aurel looks around, surprised to recognize the familiar yet changed room. The girl with white hair stares intently, trying to figure out what's different. The mysterious object in her hand crumbles to pieces, leaving a weird feeling behind. She stares at her palm in amazement as a glowing symbol appears. A golden magical mark appears on the girl's skin, radiating a soft glow. Outside the mansion, the barrier finally stabilizes, bringing back a sense of calm. The short-haired guy says with relief that it's finally safe to go inside. A shout rings out as someone calls for Errol, and the man in red turns around, worried. Rapid footsteps echo down the empty hallway, filled with anxiety and urgency. Peshin throws open the door, but realizes Errol isn't there. White-haired kid's still searching, but the girl ain't in this room either. Peshin's freaking out, wondering where Arellen could have gone. Is she gone for good? Errol bursts out of the room, and Peshin spots her, totally surprised to see her. The white-haired kid rushes over, real worried, asking if she's okay. Peshin's giving Arel the once-over, trying to see if she's hurt or anything. Mayhen's looking at the girl, all tense, trying to figure out what the heck went down inside that mansion. Errol slowly closes her eyes, finally feeling the exhaustion hit her after all that. Peshin catches her, seeing she's weak and dizzy. Mayhen helps hold Arel up, and Pession watches, worried, as she just conks out right there on the floor. The white-haired girl's out cold, her face all peaceful and serene. One of the maids is like, "Whoa, they're back late," peeking through the window at what's going on. The maids are gossiping, saying Mayhen called it, and they're hoping the miss comes back grinning soon. One of the girls is lost in thought, wondering, how did things even get to this point? They're tucking Arel into bed, really fussing over her and making sure she's comfy. Mayhen's watching the priest like a hawk, uneasy, 'cause he's pushing to finish checking Arel over. The priest from the temple says Errol's out cold, but he didn't find anything seriously wrong. The woman in white agrees with the priest, figuring the girl just crashed from being totally drained. Mayhen's skeptical, asking, "Is that really all it is? When's she gonna wake up?" The woman says sadly, "Arlen's just too delicate to handle something like this, you know?" Mayhen looks down, speechless, not knowing what to say. He leans over Errol, racked with guilt over what happened, and begging her forgiveness. The guy grips her hand, realizing he didn't protect her the way he should have. The maids watch what's happening with hope, wishing Arel would recover soon. Juni anxiously turns to Mayhen, not hiding how worried she is. The other maid tries to calm her friend down, reminding her that she's pulled through stuff like this before, and will definitely wake up. Errol lies motionless, her face peaceful, like she's just asleep. Mayhen watches the girl anxiously, completely beside himself with worry. 3 days pass, but Arel still hasn't regained consciousness, remaining in a deep sleep. The woman in white asks worriedly why the girl can't wake up, and the priest is at a loss. An argument flares up between the adults, because if Errol doesn't wake up, everyone will be in trouble, and they're trying to save her with life force magic. The woman admits that each healing session takes a huge toll on them, and they're terrified. Peshin sits by Errol's bed, his eyes locked on her peaceful face. The kid gently touches her hair, remembering the rumors about her and His Highness being close. He figures only real feelings could make someone watch over someone's sickbed day and night. It's quiet outside, and the evening air is bringing a chill to the balcony. Silence fills the room, broken only by dust motes dancing in the light. As Passion keeps his vigil, a man walks in and tells the kid it's time to head back, breaking his train of thought. Passion silently turns away, determined not to leave the room. The man anxiously tells him he needs to get back to the palace, but the kid refuses until Aurel wakes up. Passion insists he's not going anywhere, because she might need his help if she wakes up or takes a turn for the worse. The man sees how stubborn he is and agrees to stick around nearby. He heads out the door, promising to be there if I need anything. Silence falls over the room again, and the kid keeps his quiet vigil by Aurel's bedside. The room's quiet, soft light streams through the tall windows, and sparks shimmer on the floor. Passion watches what's happening with concern, his gaze intense and wary. Aurel's lying still, her face peaceful, like she's asleep. The white-haired guy's totally lost. His thoughts are scrambled. He can't process what's going on. The girl stays motionless as someone gently touches her face. Passion leans over Aurel, relieved to see she's breathing. Passion's lost in silent thought, his face showing deep contemplation. In the garden, bathed in sunlight, the guy smiles, and Aurel runs off into the distance, disappearing into the greenery. The kid's eyes narrow as he spots the girl moving. Aurel's watching the butterfly that landed on her hand, real calm. He remembers how she always keeps her distance, and it's just getting old. The kid's drawing shows a boy with a crown. Everyone's happy around him, like he's the main attraction. Passion's standing in the dim room, cold light shining on him, staring at the empty bed. Aurel's like floating in water, and she's haunted by the thought of just fading away. She reaches for him, but something blocks her, and he falls back, can't catch himself. Two hands reach for each other, but they can't quite touch, a reminder of what's lost. The guy's sitting next to Aurel, surrounded by glowing bubbles, hoping she wakes up. He's holding her hand tight, promising himself he won't let them be separated again. Passion grits his teeth, his eyes reflecting resolve and worry, filled with new promises to himself. Aurel slowly opens her eyes, her gaze hazy and full of wonder. The girl finds herself in someone's arms, feeling a gentle touch and care. A feeling of warmth fills her mind, and she tries to figure out who's next to her, surprised. A woman with a tender smile appears before her, her image bathed in light and serenity. Aurel looks up, and the stranger lovingly calls her sweetheart. The woman with the soft smile leans towards Aurel, her words sounding like an important reminder. The girl suddenly wakes up, her eyes wide with surprise. She tries to figure out if it was just a dream, and what it could have meant. Aurel looks at Passion in surprise, who turns out to be right there. This white-haired dude looks totally lost and freaked, like he can't find the words. The girl's shocked he hasn't been back to the palace once, and he's all proud about it. Aurel's blown away by how stubborn he is, but Passion says he couldn't leave her alone when she was sick. Passion's all worried, saying he couldn't bail, because her breathing was so faint. He was scared something bad would happen. Aurel's blushing hard, looking down, totally speechless. Passion's anxious, asking if he's bothering her, and she stammers that it's not exactly like that. The air gets thick between them as the guy suddenly gets closer, and she's totally lost in his eyes. Aurel admits to herself, all flustered, that she can't exactly say she hates it. Passion sits across from her, his gaze getting intense, and the words just catch in his throat. Mayan walks in, noticing that the girl's finally awake. A confident footstep echoes down the hall, while the servants watch anxiously from afar. "You feeling okay, Aurel?" Mahan asks, all concerned, and she assures him she's fine. She feels a wave of relief when he checks her forehead and sees she's doing better. He smiles a little, saying, "Looks like that fever finally broke." Aurel's surprised how much he cared, seeing how attentive he was. Mahan asks carefully, "So what's the deal with you and Passion anyway?" She realizes her connection with Mahan isn't just formal, it's full of warmth and care. Basically, Mahan's becoming someone really close to her, almost like family. Passion wonders if that's her mom, but Aurel clarifies that Mahan's more like a mother figure. He gets it. Mahan's a mom to her, and he doesn't need any more explanation. Passion's all fired up, declaring he's going to be a dad to Aurel. Aurel and Mahan are just standing there, totally lost, watching him go off like that. Before heading out, the guy promises Aurel he'll be back for sure, saying goodbye by the carriage. Back at the palace, Passion runs into some creepy, shadowy dude who scares the crap out of him. Aurel tells Mahan she's freaked out and asks who that scary guy was. She's still worried if the guy will be okay out there. Mahan kneels down in front of Aurel, trying to give her some comfort and calm her down. The man's lost in thought, his face getting all serious and pensive. Aurel looks at him, hoping he'll say something to make her feel better. Aurel reaches out, wanting some warmth and support, her eyes full of hope. Mahan stares at the girl, totally caught off guard by her sudden move. A gentle smile spreads across the man's face. He sees a fragile, delicate thing in front of him. The girl hugs Mahan tight, calling him her mom, and wondering how he managed to hold back from spoiling her rotten. She admits everyone liked it when she acted all grown up, and if she'd let herself be weak, they might have thought she was a pain. Mayhan carefully holds Errol close, sharing this moment of vulnerability and tenderness with her. Mayhan hugs Errol tightly, his voice controlled and serious. The man sadly asks the girl for forgiveness, his gaze filled with regret. Errol asks, confused, what he's apologizing for, still kneeling in the middle of the room. Memories flood back of lonely times, when the girl felt abandoned, and Mayhan was busy with his stuff. The man takes the blame for everything that hurt her, and asks for forgiveness for the past. Errol hugs him, touched and surprised, accepting his apology. Mayhan tells Arl everything's cool now, but says she shouldn't look so beat. The kid smiles and promises she won't do it again, and she really means it. The guy admits, a little embarrassed, that he cares about her, 'cause he's like her mom. Things get kinda awkward. They're both a little thrown by their feelings. A memory flashes of a tough, scary wolf who was always there. Even though he acts all tough, Mayhan's still a softie at heart. Arel gets a little flustered, not sure how to say what she feels. The girl suddenly throws her arms around Mayhan, and he's surprised but catches her. Mayhan gently hugs the little one close, and she laughs with joy. That first walk with the woman she calls mom, it's a memory that warms your soul. Errol, all hopeful and smiley, asks if they'll get to hang out again sometime. Mayhan, super gently, says he's always ready to scoop her up in his arms. An order booms down the hall, and Dylan's sweating it. He realizes they think he's a traitor. Magic circles light up the sky as the big shot mage carries out the council's orders. The cloaked dude's like, wait, they gave me this important mission instead of some regular students? A notice pops up on the board. The fate of Lake Sarit is on hold for now. The mage is thinking, sending a star-level mage for this? Talk about overkill. The branch couldn't figure out what's causing the weirdness, so now it's up to the heavy hitters to sort it out. The mage steps onto the water, making little ripples on the surface. A complex magic barrier flares in the sky, filling everything with this crazy blue light. This cloaked dude's grumbling about his job, checking the status of the shields. Waves of magic wash over him as he really focuses, trying to get a read on things. Suddenly, he stops dead. Something's definitely off. Two mages are talking, asking if the other noticed anything weird, trying to figure out what's causing this anomaly. A wave of magical energy rips through the city at night, leaving a shimmering trail behind. The mage's eyes narrow. He feels something big is coming. The building's wrapped in this eerie silence, like it's holding its breath. The mage can sense the presence of the great beast Sereth, its power saturating the area. Shadows and claws appear in the depths of the water, hinting at a hidden danger that hasn't gone away. The guy's sitting in the shadows, lost in thought, totally silent. His eyes narrow, getting all alert as he remembers that weird kid. Errol pops into his memory, standing all alone in the middle of the room. A mysterious smile creeps onto the man's face. He's definitely intrigued by this. A golden mark flares up on the girl's hand, shining with magical light. Errol's surprised to see the mark is only visible to her. Nobody else can even see it. Arel gets worried, remembering that Mayhan was also mixed up in all this. The man carefully asks the girl if anything out of the ordinary happened at the mansion. He flashes back to when Mayhan asked that loaded question. The girl figures mentioning anything weird could stir up trouble, so she tries to play it cool and hide her suspicions. She can't shake this image of that mysterious dude, and she's gotta know who he really was. Errol's hoping she hasn't stumbled into another crazy situation, but she's got a bad feeling about this. Ariel decides to look into the mysterious mark later. Right now, someone's calling her name. Mayhan finds her with a warm smile, happy to see her. She asks if he's wrapped things up, and he confirms everything's taken care of. The servants are shocked to see Lord Mayhan's eyes light up like that. He usually forgets everything when the young lady's involved. Errol's surprised to see that blowing off steam can have some wild consequences, like stuff ending up on the paperwork. The Halburn family wins the case, which is pretty much how everyone expected it to go. The house is buzzing because they got a huge payout after the trial, and everyone's mood is way better. Mayhan tells Arl he's transferred the whole settlement to her account, explaining that the money was won because of her. The kid's getting her first allowance from the Duke's household, and she's blown away by how much it is. Mayhan asks with a smile if she has any dreams, now that she's got the cash to make them happen. Errol's thinking hard about what she wants to do. Staring at that mountain of gold coins, a spark of determination flashes in her eyes as she makes up her mind. The little girl reaches for Mayhan's hand, ready to share her big idea. She announces she wants to give Mayhan a bonus for all his hard work. The room goes silent with shock when they hear her totally unexpected offer. Arel explains that Mayhan and the kid care department are always stressed out and deserve some recognition. It was like a lightning bolt hit the room when the servants heard Arel's surprise suggestion. Mayhan wants to freeze this moment in time, and the servants are wondering if they should make it an official holiday. The girl's really pushing for it, but Mayhan thanks her, saying her feelings are enough. He smiles, pointing out this touching moment's already caught on video. Ariel agrees, but asks him to at least take the support payment to help everyone else out. Mayhan watches Arel, smiling and being mischievous as she does the task, while Azini sits nearby, lost in thought. The man smiles gently, saying he's glad to see her back to her old self. In the spacious, bright room, Mayhan stands in front of the couch, where Arl, Azeni, and Pession are gathered. A blizzard's raging outside the castle walls, blanketing the massive building in white. The red-haired knight is floored by the news that Arl passed out. Two soldiers are discussing what could have hit such a sweet little girl like Arl so hard. The red-haired knight, annoyed, demands to know why his subordinates didn't get more details about Arl's fainting spell. He's pissed, saying Mehen cut him off and hasn't been answering his calls. A dude in a cloak walks in, and the whole room goes silent. There's blood on the floor, and you could cut the tension with a knife. The blood trail leads right to a figure walking across the room. The air gets heavy, and Red notices his boss is bummed. Bad news incoming. The knight hurries to give him the update on the Lord as he heads for the stairs. White hair tenses up when he hears someone address him. He imagines Arel, out cold, surrounded by some grim-looking flowers. He says the girl hasn't woken up in days. Red pipes up, saying he's got more intel, and it's important. The white-haired dude slams his hand with the magic orb on the table, and you could cut the tension with a knife. Whitehair's staring at that glowing orb, and worry's written all over his face. The connection's cut, and the magic orb goes dark, leaving nothing but silence. Mayhen's just standing there, totally surprised, like, what the heck just happened? Whitehair in the dim light orders them to let him know ASAP if the girl passes out again. Mayhen's thinking hard, wondering if that was actual, honest-to-God concern he just saw. He sits down at the table, pissed, thinking his life went down the drain because he picked the wrong master. The guy looks down, lost in his memories. Images flood back of him wandering the streets as a kid, without a purpose in the world. That's when he heard the great Duke's son make him an offer. Taking the outstretched hand, the kid saw Halburn Manor in all its glory for the first time. The boy looks around cautiously, feeling like an outsider in this new place. He remembers feeling eyes on him the second he stepped inside the mansion. The kid watches what's happening with anxiety, not knowing what to expect. At that moment, the only thing he could trust was the figure up ahead. Mayhen wonders sarcastically why he was even invited if the lord of the manor is just gonna ditch him. Dylan enters the study, and the man gives him the okay to come in. Dylan brings Mayhen a letter, apologizing for the late arrival. The envelope with the seal is addressed personally to Lord Meehan. A carriage pulls up to the manor along the driveway, breaking the morning silence. Mayhen walks into the hall, where the guests are already waiting for him. The guy's keeping a close eye on everything, playing it cool and hiding what he really thinks. An elegant woman in a blue dress is lounging on the sofa with a sly smile. Mayhen meets the woman in the living room, where a table loaded with treats is waiting for them. The Empress gives a polite little smile back at his formal greeting, making it clear it's just for show. There's a playful edge to their conversation. He's all stiff, and she's way too casual. His favorite snacks appear on the table, and Mayhen thanks her for thinking of him. The man picks up a cup of tea, lost in his own thoughts. Mayhen sips his tea, wondering if he should bring up Pessioni. The Empress admits with a hint of sadness that the kid's been a real handful. The guy realizes the crown prince is really the root of all the trouble. He points out that Pession's even refusing to go back to the palace, which is making everyone nervous. Thanks to that kid's energy, Arl's physical condition has noticeably improved. Pession's happily dragging her along, filling her days with action and laughter. The Empress smiles in relief, hearing that Pession isn't a problem, but actually helping. Mayhen thanks her for looking after the young lady, noting her attentiveness. The woman replies that it's only natural, since caring for others is second nature to her. A memory surfaces, an image of a girl who looks so much like someone from the past. The Empress remarks that Errol doesn't resemble Grand Duke Halburn at all. Mayhen is surprised, wondering who the girl takes after then. In my mind's eye, I see this girl with long blonde hair and a gentle smile. Memories flood back to a time when this young lady was a reminder of the Halburn family's glory days. Mayhen's thinking, processing this new lead. The Empress sadly realizes the reason for the girl's sorrowful eyes. She asks Mayhen if he knows who the child's mother is. He replies that the Duke never shared that secret, and he has no idea, since he was busy with Halburn affairs back then. The Empress coldly muses that the Duke might have gotten close to another woman while she was away. Mayhen considers it, saying it's possible in theory, but he thinks the Duke was too reserved for that kind of thing. She accepts his answer, not pushing for more details. Mayhen admits he doesn't know the whole truth, because the Duke keeps even secrets like this from him. The Empress is sharing her suspicions, choosing her words carefully. She's convinced it all ties back to Lady Erlyn. Mayhen's thinking hard, at a loss for words. The Empress remarks that Lady Erlyn is charming, and her very presence is like a warm hug. The girl, lying with a book, wonders why they're talking about her, but Mayhen thinks her achievements are all thanks to the young lady herself. Back at the mansion, they're discussing the Crown Prince's arrival. He's probably already here. Pession's been hitting the books and training hard all week, getting ready to see Arlen. A joyful shout echoes near the mansion walls as the boy looks for the girl. Errol wearily resists Pession's embrace, feeling totally drained. The boy admits he worked twice as hard in his studies just to see her. "Get off me!" the girl snaps, shoving the guy away. "Just leave me alone!" She thinks back to how chill things were last week, when he wasn't around. You can see the weariness and annoyance creeping into her eyes. Passion scratches his head, totally lost. What did I do wrong this time? Errol pats Passion's head, all deadpan. Is that enough? Passion admits, I've been doing a lot of thinking while we were apart. The girl's surprised as the guy says he should have been more considerate. The boy announces he's come up with something amazing, while Arel just stares at him, confused. Passion excitedly unfurls a long scroll with a workout plan for Arlen. He explains, after what happened, I decided to make you a whole training schedule. Passion proudly shows Arel and the old man a long scroll with a training plan, expecting to be praised. The girl stares at it, totally confused, thinking he's completely lost it. The boy hopefully reminds her that she could become a swordmaster. Errol calmly and politely turns down the proposed plan. They start arguing, with the guy insisting on their friendship and her doing everything he asks. But Arel denies ever promising that. Passion enthusiastically begs Arel to at least read his plan, assuring her it will help her get better. The girl suspiciously points out that the whole point of the plan is to turn her into a swordmaster. She explains that she can't even run properly and thinks the idea is totally nuts. The guy excitedly insists that Arel just take a look at the schedule. The girl's surprised by his confidence and suspects there's another crazy idea hidden in the plan. Arel checks the schedule and sees the day kicks off with posture and gait correction. The girl's surprised when the guy says 3 days a week will be dedicated to training. Arel's pissed that classes are supposed to be every day, but Passion insists that's how you build endurance. The girl decides to pretend she didn't see that part of the plan. Overwhelmed, Arel blacks out, mentally saying goodbye to everything. Passion freaks out and rips up the schedule, scared for his friend. The white-haired kid eagerly holds out a piece of paper, while the girl with the hair ribbon is totally confused. The girl in the blue dress sighs heavily, feeling exhausted and stressed out. The guy enthusiastically explains his plan, and the girl watches his excitement with suspicion. The girl feels totally drained, like a doll that's run out of batteries after another crazy scheme. Trust me on this, the kid says, eyes blazing with confidence. We got this in the bag. The white-haired dude's got this smug grin, totally picturing his plan working out perfectly. Passion's practically bouncing as he drags Arel along. Let's start with something easy, he says, and she just follows. Arel agrees, thinking she's definitely out of shape after what just happened. The guy's grinning, but the girl looks unsure, like she's already worried things are gonna go sideways. Hours later, Arel's forcing a tired smile, realizing she's made a huge mistake. Arel's gasping for air, completely wiped out. She collapses to her knees, can't go any further, and the guy just watches from a distance. Arel's flat on the ground, and then some dude's foot shows up in front of her face, like a reminder to keep going. Passion, rocking shades, barks, Get up, newbie. You ain't quitting on me now. She's barely holding it together, remembering she can't show any weakness, not after agreeing to this. This dude's making these girls do chair squats nonstop, no breaks. She's struggling to keep her back straight for 20 minutes, shaking with exhaustion, and he's just watching her. Errol's completely wiped, sweat and exhaustion all over her face. Passion stares her down through those shades, calls her by name, all business. This guy's clueless, like, how can you get that tired from just walking? She's staring at him, totally shocked, thinking he's trying to run her into the ground. Passion holds out his hand, calling it quits for now, and tells her to get up. She's looking at him, surprised, because it seems like he's not about to let up. Passion's grinning like an idiot, like he doesn't even see how beat she is. Arel forces a smile, trying to stay calm even though she's dead tired. The girl keeps walking, mentally calling the guy a total fiend. The guy cheers Errol on with tons of energy, while she barely manages to finish the exercise. In the morning, Arel tries to hide under the covers, but Passion bursts into the room with another load of energy. For breakfast, Errol gets chicken breast, made with some special recipe, and they announce that she'll only be eating this from now on. Passion excitedly tells the girl that they're doing leg day today. Errol's lying on the floor, completely wiped out, and convinced that she'll burn out completely at this rate. The girl eats her chicken breast in the morning with a blank stare, dreaming of this nightmare ending. In Arel's imagination, Passion and the man turn into demons, and she feels like she's being tormented by them. The girl sadly remembers her old life and wishes she could go back. Passion's beaming, a real warm smile that just lights up the whole room. The dude looks totally chill, like he's proud of how far he's come. Errol's feeling drained, picturing how the diet's gonna pack on muscle, but it's sucking the life right out of her. Passion sees she's running on fumes, barely able to stand. He's watching the food being prepped, deep in thought, hoping to figure out how to get her back on her feet. Passion's grinning ear to ear, just radiating energy and good vibes. The guy's decked out in royal gear, taking reports and getting ready for the day's grind. Looking a little weary, he wonders if it's too early for another pick-me-up. He nods, takes the cup from the servant, and agrees to down the drink. He silently chugs the tonic, lost in his own thoughts and worries. He downs the tonic, and a worried glint flashes in his eyes. Suddenly, a dark energy erupts from his mouth, freaking everyone out. The guy with blood on his hand is trying to figure out who could have set this up. Outside the palace walls, everything's quiet, totally unaware of what just went down inside. Meanwhile, Passion's humming a tune, clueless about the trouble heading his way. Arel carefully picks up the big cup, bracing herself for another trial. Arel barely manages to choke down the weird drink, grimacing at the taste, while Peshin's stoked she's trying so hard. The girl wonders if she's actually gotten any stronger or healthier after that elixir. She's baffled about what that strange concoction was she just drank, especially since Peshin practically forced it on her. The girl double-checks if it really was just tonic, and the guy confirms that's exactly what it was. Peshin's bragging about how his dad drinks this super valuable tonic. Errol's like, whoa! And he's all, yeah, I'm talking about my old man. Errol's sitting there, looking beat and totally lost, sweat dripping down her face. These guys are debating if the girl's changed at all after chugging that stuff, and some dude in the back thinks she's a spy. The girl's staring off into space, then snaps to attention when someone yells, totally clueless. Knights burst in, led by the old man himself, looking surprised at the crowd. One of the knights calls out Pession's name, and he's like, huh? The guy's staring, confused, wondering what the heck they want from him. The knights just grab Peshin, and he's freaking out, calling for Arl, trying to figure out what's going on. The girl's just staring blankly as the doors slam shut, realizing she's all alone now. Arel's sitting there, totally lost, trying to figure out what the heck just happened. She notices they took the bowl with Pession, and starts thinking this is all about that tonic. The girl clenches her fist, deciding she's not backing down. She's gonna get to the bottom of this. A guy with white hair, decked out in a fancy uniform, is sitting on a throne, looking all stern and focused. You could cut the tension with a knife. A kid with white hair is standing in front of the throne, stiff as a board, sweat trickling down his neck. The dude with the red eyes is looking ahead, totally freaked and confused, doesn't know what to say. The guy on the throne's face suddenly changes, his eyes blazing with anger and determination. The white-haired kid looks beat and worn out, shoulders slumped, eyes dull. The white-haired guy gets up from the throne, his voice booming and commanding, his face full of fury. The guy clenches his fist, accusing Pession of not being straight with him. The kid admits he did grab the tonic, but swears he didn't drink it. Dad's all confused, like, where are you going with this? Pession's saying, look, if I didn't drink it, then who did? The guy figures it out. His son was trying to help a sick friend, hoping the tonic would make him better. Pession's a little surprised, but confirms his dad's guess. He just covers his face, letting out this shaky, nervous laugh. The man can barely believe this is happening, muttering about how messed up this whole thing is. Tears well up, he's fighting to keep it together. Pession's standing there, lost, knowing his dad can't really be mad, because he was just trying to do good. Dad decides to let it slide, since his heart was in the right place. Pession's totally caught off guard by the sudden forgiveness. Pession's stoked. He jumps right into his dad's arms, and Mayhan smiles, pulling him in. Dad's all, hey, it's not exactly a secret, son. Everyone's talking about the Duke Halbern's daughter. He chuckles. Word's out all over the palace that you've got a thing for Princess Halbern. Peshin stammers, totally flustered. No way! That's not true! Dad's eyes narrow a bit, watching his son's reaction closely. Dad teases, whoa there, kiddo, you're blushing just thinking about her. Peshin smiles, eyes closed, feeling his dad's warm hand on his head. Errol's lying there, eyes shut, lost in her own head, just thinking about stuff. Nobody wants to get involved, they're all just hanging back. Every day, the kid rushes to the Halbern's mansion, not even trying to hide his crush on the princess. Some people are saying it's a joke, though, because even a title can't change what's coming for a girl who's so sick. At the ball, the white-haired dude gently kisses the dark-haired girl's hand, and the whole place is buzzing with excitement. Peshin's on the crowned guy's lap, and you can just feel the hope that Arel's gonna get better. The white-haired guy smiles, totally on board with the dream of the girl getting healthy. The kid's thinking about how Arel should not only get better, but become the crown princess, too. The guy gently pats the boy on the head, reminding him that patience and taking things one step at a time are key. He's got this little smile, like he's pleased as punch with how things are going and what he's thinking about. By the castle gates, a guy with a girl under an umbrella is watching everything, and they're clearly wondering what's up. Peshin's beaming, hugging this huge pillow tight, even though people are trying to get him to stop. Errol's thinking, all tired and surprised, about how this kid stole the Emperor's tonic, and figures he's gonna get it bad. Instead of getting punished, Peshin gets something valuable, and even brings a royal doctor with him. Seriously? A flashback shows a baby, all smiles, in someone's arms, while a guy with brown hair watches, trying to keep it cool. Mayhan's holding an umbrella over Arl, and she looks beat and confused, trying to figure out what to do, and gets told to just say no. Arel sighs, holding her head, wondering why everyone wants to come around, feeling the stress piling up. This girl's getting worried, thinking she's already got enough people around her, and shuts down the thought train right there. She turns away, letting her long hair flow, like she's trying to get her head on straight. Peshin's running up to Arl, all happy, and some grown-up nearby confirms that's her name. Under the umbrella, Mayhan says he wants to go back to the childhood friends thing, and she's surprised to hear that. Errol looks on with a small smile, her gaze getting more confident and chill. Peshin suddenly stops near the building, looking around warily. The white-haired kid looks anxious and tense, fear creeping onto his face. In the hall, one of the girls happily runs off, while a guy in uniform watches her with a silent expression. The dark-haired guy sighs, figuring this childhood friend reunion's gonna go down the same way it always does. In his memories, kids are desperately trying to get Crown Prince Peshin's attention, but he remains indifferent. Peshin's sitting in a chair, bored and watching everything from the sidelines. Ever since that break-in incident, the twins have been under tight surveillance, but now they're keeping quiet, and the dark-haired guy's just bored at this get-together. His gaze turns wary when he notices something out of the ordinary. The guy spots a platinum-haired girl hiding behind a pillar, and he's surprised to see her. He takes note of her light hair and delicate appearance, watching her from afar. Errol peeks cautiously from behind cover, her eyes wide with surprise and a hint of wariness. The girl breathes a sigh of relief, realizing she's bought herself some breathing room thanks to her quick thinking. Errol is stoked to make a new friend at this childhood get-together, dreaming of a fresh start. The girl is having a blast at the table with her friend, while Pession is calling her from outside. Errol feels the weight of her own big dreams and gets a little flustered by her ambitions. The girl finds herself in the spotlight, surrounded by other kids, and feels totally awkward. Peshin spots Errol and is surprised it's already over, and the girl's getting antsy. Errol ducks behind a pillar with the guy, hoping they haven't been spotted. The girl and the guy are sitting next to each other, both looking a little lost and tense. Errol wonders why he picked the spot right next to her, trying not to let her embarrassment show. The guy's checking her out, wants to know if she's okay. Errol's looking around real suspicious like, what the heck is going on? She's thinking, does this dude even talk? And he's just standing there, silent. The girl with the white hair gives a soft smile, all chill and kinda dreamy. Dark-haired guy's watching closely, eyes locked on, totally focused. She's staring at him, surprised, and he gets flustered, looks away, starts thinking hard. The guy touches his face, a little embarrassed, still processing what just happened. White-haired girl pats him on the head, and he kinda awkwardly takes it, trying to play it cool. Errol feels like Haroon's a total bro when he's gently touching her head like that. Memories of Passione pop into her head, but he seems so distant, almost untouchable. Haroon's sticking to his knightly code, all about honor, all the time. It's like she's getting pulled into a world where she meets Haroon, and someone's kinda nudging her towards him. Errol reaches out, hopeful like, hey, wanna be friends? The dude's surprised she's even asking, and she's like, I just wanna find a buddy and mess around, you know? He gets all flustered and looks away, not sure how to handle her coming on so strong. She sees he's not saying no outright, so she figures she'll push her luck a little. Haroon's looking at Errol like, whoa, didn't see that coming. Awkward silence hangs in the air. Both of them are blushing and don't know what to say next. Errol's secretly doing a happy dance inside, stoked she got her way. Errol's super happy and thanks Haroon when he agrees to be her friend, and they shake on it. Peshin's totally caught off guard like, what the heck? The girl's right next to Haroon and they're holding hands. Errol's all flustered, saying she and Haroon decided to be friends. Peshin spins around, not even trying to hide how pissed he is. A fake smile creeps onto Peshin's face, and he's like, all right, spill it. What's going on here? These two kids with golden eyes are watching the whole thing, totally clueless about what's up with these guys. Peshin, Haroon, and Errol are all standing there, looking annoyed and ready to blow. Peshin, with this sly grin, tells Haroon to step aside, says he's asking nicely for now. Errol fires back at Pession, telling him he's the one who needs to back off. These two white-haired kids are whispering, wondering if they fought before, and one remembers Pession even cried back then. Errol's laying it on thick, saying Haroon's her friend, and the guy in the uniform is taken aback by her intensity. The guys at the table are saying Arlen hasn't known him as long as Peshin has, and things are getting seriously awkward. Errol snaps back that she doesn't need to know everything about Haroon to hang out with him, she just thinks he's cool. She and Pession start arguing about who appreciates Haroon more, and the poor dude's caught right in the middle. Peshin thinks to himself that he's actually digging Haroon more than he thought he would. Haroon's totally confused, watching everything go down, and has no clue how to handle all the attention. Peshin coolly invites Haroon to sit next to him, trying to get this situation under control. The two white-haired dudes are getting hyped, talking trash about Peshin playing dirty and saying things are getting spicy. Erline and Pession are going at it, not even noticing Haroon's stuck in the crossfire, totally lost. They both yell at Haroon to shut up at the same time. They're about to blow a gasket. Haroon looks down, embarrassed, and just plain tired of their bickering. So, the dude just bolts, and Erel's jaw drops as she watches her friend bail. The girl takes off after Haroon, trying to stop him, and Peshin's just standing there, totally baffled. Out of nowhere, someone grabs Erel's arm, and she freezes like, whoa! Peshin's got a solid grip on Erel's hand, not letting her go, even though she's fighting it. The guy's demanding to know why she's so desperate to get away, and she's surprised he's pushing so hard. Erel realizes that her struggle to break free is getting her nowhere fast. In her head, she's thinking about how she wanted to mess with Haroon, figuring he's onto her game. Peshin's face is all worried and confused as the situation sinks in. Erel's stunned when she hears him ask if she's got stronger feelings for Haroon than she does for him. She reaches for him, but their hands just kinda separate, all hesitant and stuff. Passion's all flustered, begging her to forget he said anything, doesn't even want to hear an answer. Errol tries to explain, but he freaks out and bolts, doesn't want to hear her out. Passion decides to go look for Haroon, leaving Arel standing there, totally confused. She wonders to herself if her feelings for Haroon are really that strong, and she just doesn't know. Looking down, she admits there's someone she just can't stand. She remembers thinking everything was cool, but now she's having second thoughts. She pictures that kid's smile, the one who always seemed like nothing could touch him. Errol feels bummed, hoping her feelings didn't mess things up between them. These two white-haired dudes show up, saying they finally figured her out, and she's all, huh? They confess they saw it coming from the start, and Arel's totally lost, trying to figure out what they're even talking about. The twins, smirking like they know something, reveal they spotted Arel trying to pull her little stunt. She's thrown, realizing her friend shield plan got busted, and admits those twins are always a pain. One of the boys explains that because Haroon ran off, she blew her chance to score points in their game. The twin accuses Arel of screwing up their shot at winning the best friend competition, hinting at the grand prize. Haroon's sitting on the steps, thinking how surprisingly tough it's been to agree to be friends with Arlen. He's thinking maybe he should ditch her, because he feels all kinds of weird around her. Even so, Haroon can't seem to get her out of his head. Passion's sitting there all slumped over, lost in some dark thoughts, and Haroon's watching him, looking worried. Haroon tries to talk to Passion, but his heart feels heavy, and he doesn't know why he's feeling so down. The white-haired guy, Passion, looks down. His words are cold and distant when Arel gets brought up. This other dude, staring off into space, admits he and Ariel only became friends today, and doubts anyone will buy it. This guy's just tired of all the complicated questions. He's so over this whole thing. Passion's a little flustered, sitting on the steps. Looks like he's made his choice, after all. Dark-haired guy's surprised. Even Passion got wrapped around her finger. Anything Ariel does sends Passion on a total emotional roller coaster. Dark-haired guy's thinking maybe she's got her eye on someone else. Makes them both wonder. This guy's not sure what to do. Doesn't know if he should back his buddy up, but he still cares. Passion's caught off guard, totally thrown. His feelings are all over his face. Dark-haired guy's blown away. Why is he getting the short end of the stick in this weird situation? Suddenly, kids show up and all hell breaks loose. What the? Passion's totally blindsided by this news, and he's clearly shocked. Seeing those two little kids with the same look on their faces, it's making this dark-haired dude wonder if Errol's really thought this through. Nobody's sure about her decision. In his head, the kids morph into little devils, egging him on to do something, to find an answer. Even though he's nervous, the dark-haired guy steps up and takes charge. Everyone at the gate is frozen, waiting, not knowing what's going to happen next. After a while, the guy comes back with the answer. The girl said no. The girls are having a field day, teasing him about it, and Passion's gotta admit he lost. The dark-haired guy's relieved it's over, because he wasn't exactly close to Errol anyway. Passion stays cool as a cucumber, even though the little ones are trying to get a rise out of him. The dude just calmly walks away, not showing a thing. Errol's standing alone under the tree, totally lost in her own head. The girls are debating whether to go talk to Arel, but they're hesitant after she blew them off last time. Arel's hiding behind the tree, overhearing them talk about her and feeling super awkward. She's racking her brain, trying to figure out what to say to Passion when he gets back, but she's drawing a blank. In the shade of the tree, she's wondering if she should apologize, because she genuinely feels bad about how things went down. Everything Arel's ever wanted feels so out of reach right now. She can't take the pressure anymore and bolts, not understanding why everything went so wrong. A tired and bummed out look washes over her face, showing how much she's hurting inside. Errol's sitting under the tree, lost in sad thoughts about the past and the present. The girl in the red dress is all curious, asking if anyone wants to go over and chat with Errol. So, two girls are saying being friends with Arel could be useful, but one's not sure because of the rumors about where she comes from. Red dress girl says Errol's actually pretty sweet, despite everything people say. Hot stuff in the red dress walks off, looking like she's made up her mind about something. Inner voice, Arel, this is bad news. She clenches her fist, feeling pissed and wondering if being buddies with the prince is even worth it. She walks up to Arel, who's sitting under a tree, looking all exposed and alone. A mysterious smile creeps across her face as she starts talking to Errol. Arel looks up, tired and wary, not expecting anything good from this. Green-eyed girl motions Errol over, her expression getting real shady. An old-timey frame shows Leslie Belfart's silhouette, hinting she's a big part of all this. This chick with the long hair and the crown? She's staring down the future like she owns it, not sweating the small stuff. She always felt like the only one around worthy of playing the young lady role. Her folks drilled it into her head since she was a kid. Only she could be the crown princess. It was her destiny. She never doubted her calling, not once. She was used to the praise and the confidence, you know? Then Passion shows up and throws her for a loop, totally messing with her head. This green-eyed girl is looking all hopeful and nervous, waiting for the crown prince to notice her. Passion and Leslie are standing right next to each other, but then he suddenly locks eyes with Arel. Leslie's got this look of worry in her eyes when she sees things starting to shift. She remembers how Arel was always the quiet background type, But now, everything's different. Peshin and Arl are smiling at each other, holding hands. It's clear to everyone they've got something going on. Girls trying to cheer Leslie up, saying the crown prince couldn't, seriously, fall for some basic chick. Leslie plays it cool, agrees with her friend, but she's hiding what she really feels. You can see the envy in her eyes, and she's dead set on becoming the future crown princess. The girl in the red dress smiles and waves Arel over, acting like she wants to be friends. Errol's confused and wary, asks why she's being invited over like this. Leslie says she noticed Errol was all alone, so she's offering her some company over tea. Inside, Leslie's getting suspicious and ticked off, cause she doesn't buy Errol or her bodyguard's act for a second. Errol's thrown for a loop by the tea invitation, doesn't know what to expect. The kid's totally lost, wondering if they see her as some kind of savior, and Leslie's just a little flustered. The girls gather in the living room, waiting for a special guest, and you can feel the anticipation in the air. Errol's introduced to everyone. They ask her to feel welcome, and she feels a little awkward. The girls greet Arl, and it's her first time at a fancy shindig like this, so she's feeling all kinds of new things. Leslie smiles and says, "You're welcome," to Errol, making it clear that inviting her was the obvious thing to do. Errol's thinking like, what's the deal with all these titles and being a socialite hostess? She decides not to get hung up on weird thoughts, since even being awkward with Peshin feels normal by comparison. Leslie, sitting in her chair, is about to get down to brass tacks, setting the stage for something big. Tea and sweets show up on the table, making the meeting feel both official and cozy. Leslie turns to Errol, asking her to answer a personal question, hinting that it's something important. The green-eyed girl watches Errol closely, holding her teacup. Leslie gives a sly smile, keeping her real game plan under wraps. Errol's thrown by the question about how close they are, wondering if that's really how everyone sees them. Inside, she's like, "Peshin's mine, end of story." Arel pictures Peshin as some kind of intense challenge, a real handful. Leslie and the other girls are totally lost, like, where's this conversation even going? Flashback, Arel and Peshin together. Everyone's wondering who's really calling the shots here. Leslie's jaw drops that Peshin himself is looking out for her. She can't hide her surprise. She forces a smile and says, "Errol must be, pretty tight with His Highness." Errol replies, lost in thought, that she's not sure if close is the right word for what they've got. The girl looks up, confused, wondering what all these questions are about. One of the girls starts cracking up, and Arel's like, "What's so funny?" The redhead's smirking like she owns the place, reminding everyone about good manners. The blonde's totally stunned, like she just got hit by a truck. Her face is all WTF. The girls are face to face. One's giving advice, all tired and annoyed, and the other looks super embarrassed. The blonde's staring, totally confused, like she didn't see that coming at all. They're sipping tea and talking about what's going on, while some grown-ups watching with a knowing smirk. All eyes are on one girl, and the others are crowding her, making the air thick with tension. The redhead's got this icy smile, laying down the law like she's the queen of the world. The blonde's in the chair, getting this weird deja vu feeling. Her eyes are full of worry. She's sure this has happened before, and the memories are flooding back. The redhead and the dark-haired guy are smiling, promising to take care of her, but something feels off about it. A guy in a suit and a girl with white hair are sitting across from each other. You could cut the tension with a knife. In her memories, every kid who ever got close to her, it was like they all put on the same mask, hiding who they really were. The redhead's laying down the law, telling the other girl she needs to listen up, and the blonde's all surprised, asking why. The blonde's got this slight smile. Her eyes are calm and wide open. The redhead freezes, totally thrown, doesn't know what to say. She starts getting antsy when the other girl demands an answer and reminds her about the question. Out of nowhere, the blonde points at the redhead. Her face is like, set, but also kinda shocked. The girl with the green eyes is watching it all go down, and the redhead's trying to explain herself, feeling all insecure. The white-haired girl's watching closely, talking to Leslie, and her gaze turns ice cold. The girl with the green eyes is frozen, waiting, not knowing what's coming next. The blonde's keeping it cool, face showing just a hint of confidence and control. In the flashback, a white-haired girl's silhouette is surrounded by flowers, making her seem distant and mysterious. She's sitting alone in a big armchair, lost in her own thoughts and loneliness. Two girls are facing each other, and one of them is shocked to learn the other doesn't even know who her mom is. The shadows on the wall reflect the servant's scorn, something she's used to by now. The white-haired girl tries to stay out of sight, hiding in the corner of the room with a toy in her hands. You'd think all the indifference and coldness around her would make her blow a gasket, but she just watches it all go down. Even with all that going on, Arlene stayed calm and kept a steely look in her eyes. The girl with the gentle smile hugged her teddy bear tight, finding some comfort in it. The white-haired girl stands in the shadows, her face hidden, and the air around her gets thick with tension. The redhead's eyes went wide with shock and confusion, totally lost. The blonde just smirked, her eyes turning icy and confident. Everyone around the tea table froze, sensing the shift in the air. The tension between the girls was building. The white-haired girl spoke to the redhead, who just hung her head, feeling totally out of place. The girl in the green shoes quietly whispered her name, all nervous and unsure of herself. The redhead looked down, barely able to answer the question about her dad's position. The blonde calmly reminded everyone of the meeting's rules, stressing the importance of keeping things friendly. The white-haired girl gently put a hand on the other girl's shoulder, her face a mix of surprise and sympathy. The redhead, fighting back tears, silently refused to take anyone's advice. The blonde, with that chilling look, pointed out that advice without any say is just plain overstepping. The redhead realizes with a jolt just how much every little thing she says matters. The ginger-haired girl just bursts into tears, totally losing it. The blonde watches her, cool as a cucumber, not showing a damn thing. The other girls at the table are lost in their own heads. One of them is bummed that she can't seem to connect with the others. A maid walks in, all polite, asking if anyone wants more tea and pastries. Seeing what's going on, the maid's totally caught off guard and doesn't know what to think. She goes over to the crying girl, carefully asking if anything bad happened. The white-haired girl gets it. In this world, tears don't mean jack. The maid just stares, totally clueless about what to do next. The girl gets up from the table, says her goodbyes, and mentions she had a nice time. She decides making friends ain't for her and heads home, feeling totally alone. The mansion's towering walls greet her return, a reminder of her usual isolation. A letter ends up in her hands, among a pile of others, like a sign of things to come. A dude with long, light brown hair thoughtfully mentions the sky tower's on its way. The towering tower rises above the clouds, home to every magic user out there. He's thinking about how the tower officially announced it's paying a visit to the Albert Empire. Mayan's talking with a colleague about setting up a meeting with the Magic Tower's head honcho because of that recent situation. In the office, a guy and his assistant are discussing this never-ending spring, surrounded by stacks of paperwork. The assistant says the northern strongholds requested backup for the first time ever, and things are getting seriously hairy. The guy clenches his fist, agreeing that this is some serious business. The thought of someone abandoning their family here really bums him out, and his aide's kicking himself for bringing up the news at a bad time. You can see the weariness in his eyes, and a hint of worry he's trying to hide. They find a letter in the documents mentioning that the crown prince has unique circumstances. One of the knights jumps at the special assignment, totally stoked about it. Peshin's grinning like a Cheshire cat, definitely plotting something that's beneath the heir to the throne. Mayhin shuffles through the papers, not really paying attention, not finding anything interesting. Suddenly, his eyes narrow. He's spotted something out of the ordinary. Mayhin's talking with his aide about the kid's recent tiff, mentioning that one of the girls drove the other to tears. The aide jokes that sometimes it's better to dish it out than take it, and Mayhin agrees. The guy remembers that if Arlene's anything like Valerie, she could be a handful, and meanwhile, the girl's standing in the wind, looking seriously stressed. And he also thinks punishments should only be for real screw-ups, like when someone walks in on something. The white-haired girl reaches out happily, her face lit up with a big, happy smile. The assistant's surprised by the timing, because they were just talking about reprimands. The man looks at Arlene with affection, his voice softening. The white-haired girl says dinner was awesome, and the assistant asks, surprised, if the boss is busy. The guy smiles with relief, realizing he was worried for nothing. A muffled sob comes from outside, filling the room with a touch of sadness. The girl in the red dress snaps at her friend for crying, saying it's why she can't go home. The redhead, still crying, asks if she needs to apologize for what happened at the tea party, but her friend says there's nothing to apologize for. The girl in red gets annoyed about the lack of manners, worried she'll get iced out now. The white-haired girl blends in with the maids, and everyone thinks her anger is just hot air. Leslie's holding back her rage, but inside, she's getting more and more determined. Errol's chilling, totally clueless about the jealousy brewing. Leslie, desperate, swears she'll do whatever it takes to come out on top. Her friends see how she is and ask her what's wrong, worried. The blue-eyed girl smirks, sharing her new plan, already picturing how it'll play out. The green-eyed girl's face is tight, fighting to stay calm, and her friend gently squeezes her hand. At the table, a maid smiles kindly, suggesting the young lady stretch her legs, and the lady, face in her napkin, asks about exercises, surprised. The white-haired boy with red eyes looks on, a little tired, thinking, "Yep, saw that coming." The girl wonders, is Haroon really more interesting than her? She remembers him storming off last time, and she's betting he won't even show today. The girl reluctantly takes the maid's hand, deciding she'd rather just read. The maid leads the girl down the hall, suggesting they head straight to the library. Opening the door, the maid says there are new books that the lady will definitely enjoy, and she reacts with lazy interest. A boy with white hair and a serious look suddenly appears in front of the girl, grabbing her attention. He enthusiastically reminds her that it's time for training, beaming with a happy smile. After the workout, the boy points out the girl's progress, while she, exhausted, can barely stand and thinks the elixir is starting to work. The girl anxiously notices that at first glance, the boy seems completely unchanged. She decides to pretend nothing happened, even though she feels awkward inside. Arlen clutches her head in despair. not understanding why the boy isn't bothered or embarrassed at all. The girl, worn out and drained, slowly walks across the carpet, and the boy smiles, inviting her to sit down. She sits down, and the kid's surprised how chill she is today. The girl gives a sheepish smile, admitting to herself she just feels awkward asking for help. The boy asks her something, and she just reacts, tired and kinda bored. He asks about the tea party with the other ladies, wondering if anything weird went down. The girl's silent, doesn't know what to say, and silence just hangs there between them. The white-haired kid's all concerned, asks if anything bad happened to Arlene, sitting there in that fancy room. The girl looks down, realizes he's heard something, and figures he couldn't not know about what happened at the Crown Prince's little get-together. Arlene answers carefully, and the kid watches her reaction, looking worried. The girl lowers her eyes, thinking if he gets all worked up, it'll just make things worse, and asks him to pretend he doesn't know anything. Clenching her fists in her lap, Arlene admits how hard this act is, and decides she'll just do this favor this one time. She lowers her head, worn out, and quietly admits it wasn't his fault. The kid's face is full of worry and regret as he apologizes, his red eyes filled with sorrow. The girl turns away, thinking sorry for everything she had to go through. With the sunlight and leaves behind her, she thinks Persian seems more mature than her, even with her past life memories, because he's the Crown Prince. She realizes he'd rather forgive than blame, and he's always genuine and kind when it counts. The girl smiles slightly, remembering that kindness and sincerity are just part of who he is. She admits to herself that she's not good at saying sweet things or being truly kind. Sitting across from the boy, the girl assures him that he's not to blame and has nothing to apologize for. The boy anxiously asks if he's keeping her from making friends, feeling guilty about her being alone. Arlene answers with a small smile that she is doing all right. She's admitting that he was the first real friend she ever had. Thinking back, she remembers always saying she preferred playing the violin alone. In both her past life and this one, she's always been a loner. The girl smiles softly, remembering that her first friend didn't show up until after she was born. The boy with white hair and big red eyes looks at her, surprised, as he sits in a fancy armchair. He gets all excited and asks if he can hug her, but she's flustered and panics, saying no. But he keeps pushing. Peshian hugs the girl tight, beaming with joy, and everything around them fills with light and warmth. The girl, now in his arms, is blushing and wondering why he likes her so much, and why he doesn't make her uncomfortable. As she's drawing on paper with a red crayon, she feels like his heart will always be this kind and unchanging. Arlene, dead serious, instantly tells the boy that's not gonna happen, and he leans in, clarifying he was just asking, just in case. The kid, all worried and hurt, asks if Arlene really doesn't trust him. The girl just stares at him, doesn't know what to say, and this heavy silence just hangs between them. At today's get-together in the garden, the kids are gathering near this fancy gazebo, all lit up by the sun. Arlene, in her white dress with red ribbons, is surprised to hear she's allowed to do whatever she wants. The boy, eyes red, insists he's her first friend, and calmly says he won't mind if she makes more friends. They announce in the garden that Arlene has free time today, and the boy, surprised and happy, wants to play with her, but someone immediately objects. Arlene's eaten up with guilt, wondering if the boy's trying so hard to earn her trust because of their last talk. She finds a quiet spot under a tree, enjoying the rare chance to read in peace. Suddenly, Arlene spots something unexpected and gets a real fright. Her face shows alarm. She realizes if she falls, she's going to hit the tree, and in a panic, she tries to avoid it. Someone's hand gently catches Arlene, stopping her from falling and taking a hit. A young dude with a warm smile and chill eyes softly tells her to watch it, standing amidst the sunbeams and flowers. His outfit's got a fancy pin, and there's this light, happy vibe in the air, like he's stoked to finally be back with the girl. The girl's eyes are wide with fright, her hair's a mess, and she's totally stunned. A mysterious guy with piercing eyes appears before her, surrounded by light and shadows. The man, leaning against a tree, just chills and watches the girl, and she stares back at him, confused as hell. With the majestic imperial palace in the background, the man says confidently that nothing can stop him. The girl's freaked out, her heart's pounding, because finding her was way too easy. The man admits it took a while to find her, commenting on how restless she is. Arlene's worried and scared, wondering why they're tracking her this far, and if they've come to finish what they started at the lake. She can feel him closing in, like he's determined to see this through. Suddenly, his hand gently touches her forehead, and he promises he's not going to hurt her. The girl's totally confused, not understanding what's happening or why her fears aren't coming true. She's still got a ton of questions, watching this guy who seems strangely familiar. In her memories, she sees he used to look so young, but now everything's different. In his smile and the way he looks at her, she suddenly sees something boyish, like he's not a grown man but a kid. The girl blushes, realizing she's been staring at him for way too long. The guy warns her that if she keeps talking to him here, people are gonna think she's lost her mind. He's sure that she's the only one who can even see him in this place. The girl's surprised, because even though she sees him clear as day, nobody around them is paying any attention. She feels the warmth of his hand and knows for sure he's no ghost. The man watches the girl silently, and she gets visibly nervous and feels unsure of herself. He wonders why she's all alone, since the other kids are hanging out over there. The man asks if she really doesn't have any friends, and the girl turns away, embarrassed. The girl confidently states that she does have a friend, thinking of Pessian, and the man admits that he doesn't have any friends either. The man asks with a mysterious smile if she wants to know why the others kicked the bucket. The girl realizes that any answer she gives could be a death sentence for her. With a tall tree in the background, the girl in the fancy dress stands next to the man. While off to the side, two other girls are gossiping about her, remembering how at the last tea party, Arilyn made Lady Nadeli cry. The girls eagerly share the details, claiming that Arilyn lectured Nadeli for a long time, reminding her of her background, and didn't show a shred of sympathy when she burst into tears. One of the girls is sure that Arilyn thinks she's a big shot because of the prince's favor, and believes the imperial family is keeping an eye on her at Halbern's request. Arilyn's holding back, shocked at how twisted the rumors are and how wrong the facts got. The guy smirks a little, noticing the young lady isn't exactly popular around here. In a kind of weird move, he gently touches her cheek, saying she's cute, and she just silently reacts to it. The guy offers his hand with a mysterious smile, promising to help, and dark energy swirls around him. The girl refuses, cold and reserved, not wanting anything to do with his offer. One of the girls snickers, saying there's no point in helping, because everyone thinks she's a lost cause. The guy and the girl face off in the emptiness, and he asks when she's gonna kick the bucket. The girl hangs her head, thinking everyone wants her dead, and she's even surprised by how harsh that thought is. The guy chuckles, admitting she doesn't need anyone's help, and looks at her with interest. The girl with red eyes and bows in her hair stands in a blooming garden, trying to stay classy and put up with the trash talk. Two boys in matching fancy suits butt into the conversation, all curious, asking what the girls are talking about. The twins, smirking like they know something, want to know if the girls are spilling some juicy gossip. The girls are thrown for a loop, realizing it really is the twins, and hope they didn't catch their little chat. One of the girls is freaking out, thinking the twins might have heard Cornelia wishing Arlene would just kick the bucket already. The twins get serious, reminding her that Arlene's got a tough illness, and call her out for saying something so messed up about a sick person. The girl with the blue eyes tries to explain herself, saying she was just pissed because Arlene made Nadeli cry. The twins, looking sharp in their white suits, are like, "Nah, Nadeli was the one who started it, not Airline." The girls are totally confused, realizing they might have gotten the wrong story, and start doubting Cornelia's version of events. In a garden bursting with flowers, Arlene stands alone, while Cornelia's rumors are spreading like wildfire around her. Arlene's bummed, knowing she didn't do anything to deserve all this crap. The girl with the white ribbon in her hair is told she's not welcome at the gatherings anymore, and she's totally blindsided by the news. Golden Eyes here coldly reminds her this place is way above her pay grade, looking down his nose at her. Cornelia's eyes well up with pain and tears, as they basically tell her she knows darn well where she belongs. The girls freak out and bolt, and the twins are like, "Whoa, check out the speed on those ones." The twins find Airline in the garden and ask, all curious, how long she's been standing there and if she was eavesdropping. Airline's confused, asking the twins why they helped her out, and they just give her these little smirks. The twins casually say they weren't helping, just stating facts, seeing as the crown prince sent them over. Airline realizes the twins are just messing around, watching to see how she'll react. Even with all this going on, her heart kinda aches when she thinks about the twins. She takes a chance and asks if they want to be her friends, looking at them all hopeful. The twins are bringing up how she used to turn them down for bestie status and didn't even want to hang. Airline gives a little smile, admitting she might have been looking for friends in all the wrong places. She comments that the twins are looking extra cute today, and they stare after her, totally surprised. Airline looks around, all confused, wondering where her mysterious stalker suddenly vanished to. A majestic building appears before her, bathed in soft light. The Halberns' private library, not far from the manor. Inside is a huge hall with towering shelves and fancy balconies. This library is known as one of the 3 greatest in the empire. Early in the morning, our girl carefully reaches for a book. She's here this early for a pretty important reason. A maid meets her between the shelves, and they exchange a couple of quick words about finding the right book. The girl clutches the book tight, and a weird pattern glows mysteriously on the back of her hand. She eagerly grabs a whole stack of books, but flipping through them, she doesn't find anything actually useful. The girl studies the book thoughtfully, wondering why a star is usually considered a symbol for wizards. In her mind, she pictures a mage who, upon reaching a certain level, earns their star. The maid excitedly says that in ancient times, a star also symbolized a savior. The girl starts to suspect that if he's a wizard, his sudden appearances and disappearances make sense. She notices that the other wizards on the estate or in the palace can't seem to see him. Thinking back to their conversations, she realizes that despite his young face, he seems pretty old. Worry flickers in her eyes, because behind his relaxed demeanor, she senses a lot of pressure. The girl feels like she's talking to someone who isn't quite human. She wonders if he's some kind of monster that broke free, or maybe a powerful archmage who woke up after a long nap. Just then, a boy with white hair and bright eyes shows up, happy to find Arlene. He asks her what book she's reading, impressed that she can read in another language. Then he starts talking about the last time the childhood friends met up, and it becomes clear why he came. Two identical twin boys in fancy outfits are smiling among golden flowers, and the main character notes that she's become friends with both of them. The girl's sitting at a table with books, and the white-haired boy is wondering why. Out of all people, the twins became her friends. He looks bummed out because it was so hard for him to become friends with Arlene, and the twins did it in just a few hours. The boy hangs his head, lost in dark thoughts, and the girl's wondering if she should comfort him, and what friends even do in this situation. A maid with a gentle smile points to a stuffed rabbit and suggests petting the boy's head to cheer him up. She hugs the toy and pats it on the back, and the main character wonders if that's too much like treating him like a baby, even though he is a kid. The boy, looking super serious, announces his decision, and the girl stares at him, surprised and clueless about what he's planning. He firmly suggests canceling the childhood friends' get-togethers, clenching his fist and showing his resolve. It hits her, like a bolt from the blue, that she actually has friends now, and she realizes those childhood get-togethers weren't exactly her favorite thing either. The kid bolts, totally set on telling his mom his decision, like right now. You can see the steel in his eyes. He's thinking these hangouts just stir up a bunch of pointless gossip about Arlene, and they gotta shut him down while they still can. She grabs his arm, not wanting him to just run off like that. She gently touches his forehead, trying to calm him down. Their eyes lock in this tender, totally unexpected moment, all bright and sparkly. She smiles and asks if he's feeling better, but he just clams up, totally flustered and speechless. Looking him straight in the eye, she gets serious and tells him not to cancel the childhood friend meetups. She admits that she's actually started enjoying playing in the palace with him, Haroon, and the twins. The kid remembers how much fun they used to have together, and his eyes soften up. He takes it all in, a hint of weariness showing in his eyes. The kid, all serious, suggests cutting the crew down to 5 and ditching the rest. But the girl's not feeling it. They head up this fancy-ass staircase together, and the kid admits he doesn't give a damn about the haters, but he's not digging the whole idea. They're chilling in the library, reading, when the girl just face-plants on the desk, passed out amongst all the open books. The kid notices she's wiped, surprised at how beat she is. He's thinking she's kind of fragile, since Arlene just crashed midday, couldn't handle the pressure. In his dark memories, he figures the recent events have really taken a toll on her. The kid wonders if these meetups are just stirring up drama. Maybe they should call it quits. He imagines being Arlene's rock, protecting her, just by being there for her. He's lost in thought, trying to find a way to get closer to Arlene, hoping she'll let him in. His feelings are getting intense, and he's realizing he's craving her attention more than ever. Deep down, he's admitting to himself he wants to see her every single day and always be around her. His gaze softens. Anything involving her always grabs his attention. He's kind of lost in thought, worrying if anything else happened to her. Even with all the confusion, seeing her face always seems to brighten his mood. Sometimes he thinks he's acting like a total fool because of how he feels. In the quiet of the library, he admits to himself that he's really falling for her. He smiles, realizing the reason is simple. He cares about her a lot. In the opulent hall, under the shimmering light, 2 female figures and a white cat slowly walk forward, their silhouettes fading into the shadows. On the opposite side of the hall, a man and a boy, bathed in cold light, stop facing each other, as if preparing for a serious talk. The girl in the red dress is clearly worried as she speaks to the boy, her voice insistent and demanding. The guy with the white hair and piercing eyes responds with a cold detachment, not wanting to spill his secrets. The grand hall fills with tense words as the boy admits he's always busy, and she tries to figure out why he keeps disappearing. The boy, skeptical and a little sarcastic, points out it's not just his schedule, and wonders why she's suddenly so interested in his life. The girl with white hair and crimson eyes stares confidently, like she's got all the power. She smirks, crossing her arms, wondering if it's weird to care about her brother, only to be told to mind her own business. Curiosity's eating at her, and she remembers the girl they're talking about is named Arellen. Warm childhood memories flood back, when something really grabbed Peshin's attention, and his face lit up with a happy smile. The girl, with a sly grin, wonders if all this has something to do with their mother. Meanwhile, someone reaches for a cookie, lost in thought about habits that creep up on you. This girl's just chilling, munching on a cookie, thinking about how she's gotten used to this annoying stalker's constant attention. She admits, kinda tired, that she's used to it now. Even her buddy Mehen doesn't even bat an eye anymore. Now she's just figuring out how to ditch this creep. Sitting at the terrace table, she wonders why this dude keeps showing up. He says it's all for kicks, and she feels like some kind of reality show. Totally baffled, she asks if he's got nothing better to do. He just shrugs and says nothing's pressing. The guy leans forward, all interested, waiting for her to say something. The girl's surprised he noticed she was digging up dirt on him. The guy smirks, pointing out she even hit up the library to do her research. He asks, all curious, why she went to such lengths, and she starts to think about what to say. The girl's getting worried that one wrong question could stir up trouble, so she decides to tread carefully. The guy, with a sly look, says the little lady is a real sweetheart. He tells her she can ask him anything she wants, promising he won't hurt her. The girl's surprised, realizing she's actually allowed to ask her question without any hidden agenda. Looking serious, she asks what he really is, but he just smiles mysteriously and says it's a secret. She asks about what happened in Sarit, but he dodges the question again, keeping it under wraps. Annoyed, she asks if he's messing with her, secretly knowing that answers to questions like that could drive her crazy. She looks worried at her glowing hand, wondering how she's going to hide this weird effect. He calmly mentions that he's the only one who can see the glow, although other beings might be able to sense it. The girl asks one last question. What's his name? But he just keeps things mysterious with a slight smile. He gives a mysterious smile and says his name is Chehen, leaving a feeling of secrecy in the air. The girl asks in disbelief if she heard the real name, and asks him to repeat it to be sure. A shadow crosses his face, and he asks with a dangerous playfulness if she really wants to know his true name. His yellow eye gleams in the darkness, and a voice in his head acknowledges how sharp she is. He chuckles softly, mentioning that there's only one Halburn left in the mansion. A little flustered, the girl confirms that he is indeed that Halburn. The girl sadly admits she knows her father exists, but she's never met him. The young man takes her confession calmly, without asking any further questions. Suddenly, he vanishes, leaving the girl confused and feeling like she'd been standing next to a ghost. She's left alone at the table, lost in silent thought. The girl decides to carefully crack open the door to make sure no one's inside, ready to back out if necessary. She enters the hall, where a surprised servant greets her, and golden light fills the room. The girl throws herself into her mother's arms, and her mom hugs her tight, asking if she needs anything. Deep down, all the girl wanted was to be with her mom. She's surprised her mother decided to visit now, of all times, when she's so busy. Her mother says she needs to ask a favor about something important, handing over a sealed envelope. The girl reads the letter and finds out about the Empire's big upcoming celebration, the founding festival. She realizes everyone's going to be swamped as it gets closer, and even hanging out with her childhood friends will have to wait. Elegant cups and sweets are laid out on the table, because the kids are planning a tea party to strengthen their friendship. Erline reads the invitation, puzzled, and wonders why they need her for this event. The young man admits, with a touch of worry, that it's not just about the planning. He imagines the guests invited to the fancy event, including the kids and their parents. The girls got this wide-eyed look, realizing they invited whole families to this tea party. In the huge hall, this dude with the papers is all ears, listening to a question about a letter from the tower. He says this is the first visit in 154 years, and they're getting swamped with requests, making scheduling a total pain. Looking at this girl, she's so fragile, like glass. Makes you wonder if the tower knows something about what's ailing her. The servant bows low, promising to take care of the errand. Inside, he feels like he's walking a tightrope, pushing his luck. Meanwhile, the boss is thinking about Lord Mayhen's worries, and how even news from the Crown Prince is drying up. The guy, he's beat and confused, wondering why the Empress had to pull this stunt now. He's thinking about how all this is going down right before the Empire's anniversary, which just cranks up the pressure. The magic orb's glowing on the table, and all this bad stuff is piling up, like a storm's about to break. The girl stares at the letter, surprised and worried, unsure what to do. The man watches her reaction, holding back, searching for the right words. They're suggesting she back out, saying no guests could make things awkward. Anxiety flashes in her eyes as the name Mayhen crosses her mind. Standing before her is the man with the cold expression, her guardian. The little girl hides behind him, finding safety and peace there. She clutches the letter, feeling the tension building inside. Running away doesn't seem like the answer, and she looks at her guardian, realizing things are way more complicated. The man leans in close, about to say something important. The man worries, thinking, is there another person I know involved in this mess? In his head, Mayhen's becoming family, and he's thinking about the people who looked out for him, deciding to invite them and Dylan over. He's warning her that there might be times when he can't keep her safe. The girl grabs his hand, real confident, letting him know it's all good. Deep down, she's got this feeling that Mayhen will always have her back. She sees this painful look on his face, like he's hiding a ton of worry. The guy kneels down in front of her, and she gets this weird, warm feeling, probably because Mayhen genuinely cares. The girl reaches for his hand, feeling calm and supported. She smiles, feeling like she's doing better just being around him. The girl snuggles up to the guy, thinking to herself how gentle and solid he feels. She wonders if blood is really all it takes to make a family, and decides to take a shot at proving it isn't. Center stage, bathed in light, a girl with a mic and shades confidently announces that they're family. Inside the majestic imperial palace, a family get-together is kicking off. A tea party just for the kids. The kids gather around the table, ready to hash out the plans for the upcoming family tea. One of the boys explains that the scope, schedule, and guest list are already locked in, so the rest is up to them. She, in the pink dress, raises her hand with a ton of enthusiasm, while another watches quietly, hiding behind the others. The girl, lost in thought, realizes there's a lot to get ready, 'cause tea parties always cost a fortune. They finally decide that everyone will handle the tea and desserts, and the Imperial Palace will take care of the major stuff. The girl stares off into the distance, thinking about something important. The boy explains that if anyone wants to invite extra people, they need to make a list ASAP so they can send out invitations with the Imperial Seal. The girls excitedly chat about the Imperial Seal. One of them is about to get something with that symbol for the very first time. This kid's like a golden retriever made of sunshine, always so damn cheerful. Bummer, I won't get to see him until this tea party thing is over, and hangouts are on hold. Yo, we need decorations and flower arrangements. Gotta get that stuff ready for everyone. Did someone just check me out? Who's staring? Wait a sec, something just clicked. All right, listen up. Any clothes with your family crest or personal emblem are totally cool. Is this whole thing just some kind of setup for us girls? Ugh, man, this symbolic dress code is a real headache. Whoa, guys, easy. I can't breathe. Okay, we're all friends. Let's get this tea party prepped. But Arlalyn is already over it. The guys are saying cooking alone sucks, and with stars in their eyes, they're all about doing it together, not letting Arlalyn say no. They're deciding to prep at Arlalyn's place, but she's like, hey, did anyone even ask me? Leslie's watching all this, green with envy, thinking Arlalyn's getting way too close, way too fast. Leslie turns and walks off, and someone calls out her name, trying to stop her. Hearing that familiar voice, Leslie freezes, totally shocked someone's calling out to her. The Crown Prince walks into the room, and everyone's eyes are glued to him, all serious and regal. Leslie nervously walks up to the prince, trying to play it cool, but he sees right through her. The prince cuts her off, letting her know he's clued in on what's bugging her. Leslie can't hold back the tears, feeling lost and wondering if she even matters. Mom comforts Leslie, gently stroking her hair and making sure she looks okay. Deep down, Leslie's got this burning desire to put Arlene in her place, dreaming of the day she finally gets one over on her. She's picturing this girl, the one everyone dismisses as just some unimportant heiress from one of the top 5 ducal families. A cold smile creeps across the woman's face, because as far as everyone else is concerned, she's still just the defective heir. Leslie, unable to hold back the tears, hears a stern order to stop crying. Her mother, all fake concern, tells her to just focus on her future, while hiding her real game. 2 boys in blue outfits are hugging a girl in a pink dress, all excited about the news they got from Sparrow. The girl, looking annoyed, points out she could have gotten here faster herself, and the boys, chuckling, admit she's right. One of the boys, totally hyped, explains they really wanted to see the Halburn estate, holding up binoculars with the massive building in the background. The pink-haired girl watches the boys take off down the red carpet, surprised by their audacity. One of the boys calls out to the other to check out a painting, calling it a journey in the temple, and the second one eagerly agrees. The boys are tearing up the stairs, geeking out over the paintings, and pointing out there are 2 masterpieces by some big-shot artist hanging right next to each other. The twins are totally losing it over these old-school Granso originals, while the girl's wondering why something this valuable is even here. The girl, looking beat, just wants to go home, while the servant's apologizing for all the commotion. She knows this is just how the twins are gonna react, so she just sighs and heads out of the room. To her, it's just another painting in a frame. But for the twins, this thing is suddenly a whole different ballgame. To them, everything around here feels amazing and unreal. Back in the day, when magic and people coexisted, some folks had powers that were practically godlike, and that's what shot Spare to the top of the Empire's trading game. The key to their success was this mysterious golden eye, shining bright among the gold coins and symbols. Seal's golden eyes let him see the real value of things, sizing them up and displaying it as a number. This ability extended to everything: people, objects, even toys. But Noel had his own gift. He could see danger coming. Noel's eyes could foresee threats, picking them out from a crowd, which made his gift truly priceless. The Halburn mansion, overflowing with treasures and secrets, seemed like a real-life wonderland to the kids. In the opulent hall, the children marvel at the rare Lunar Grandelier painting series, shrouded in legend. The girl is stunned that only 3 works are at auction, while the Imperial collection has 4, and her father owns all the rest. She begrudgingly agrees to start the meeting, and the twins eagerly back her up. One of the boys asks if Arlene took care of the tea and desserts, dreaming of flower tea from the eastern continent. The girl admits she didn't think of it, and the boys happily volunteer to take care of it. The twins excitedly suggest decorating the hall with golden barzats to add some magic to the celebration. The girl thoughtfully chooses lilies, remembering that this flower has been the symbol of the Halburn family for generations. The twins lean across the table, asking what kind of gift to pick, and the girl says something appropriate. The boys look at her with sympathy, and she's confused by their gaze. The twins excitedly offer to pick a gift from the ones they brought as examples, ready to see if it's worthy. They enthusiastically discuss what Arlene would do without their help, saying she'd totally embarrass herself. The girl wonders in surprise if these two have always been this helpful, like last time. The twins pick out a gift for Arlene, thinking that their friendliness isn't just because they decided to be friends. Arlene asks in surprise why they like her so much. The boys freeze, totally stumped, not knowing how to answer her question. They start thinking about why they like her, trying to figure it out. Thoughts flash through their heads. Maybe because she's a halbern, or maybe because she's shrouded in mystery. But the truth is, Arlene didn't win them over by just meeting expectations. A girl with a gentle smile and a teddy bear? People are scratching their heads, wondering if she's really the youngest halbern lady. The twins are sizing her up, risk assessment and all, and decide she's totally average. After that, Arlene gets the prince's attention, becoming his new puzzle and a pawn in his game. Eventually, everyone forgets she's a halbern lady and just sees her as a regular kid. The boy's eyes narrow as he notices something off. One of the twins is floored, can't believe what he's seeing, and asks his brother what's going on. The boy's confused, saying even with the halbern's reputation, Arlene seems way too young. He sees she's changed, and nobody's ever seen someone with that number, or without one at all. The twins exchange glances, realizing they're dealing with something totally unheard of. That's when they started watching Arlene like hawks, wondering what her deal was. They thought Arlene looked way too fragile, like she needed someone to protect her. They remembered she used to have a thing for Haroon, always picking him to play with. The kids were racking their brains, trying to figure out why she wasn't avoiding them, like she should be. The twins zoomed down the hall, stoked to have a cool new friend. The girl with pink eyes seemed harmless enough, making them wonder what could possibly be wrong with her. The boys were scratching their heads, wondering why they were so into this girl. The twins grinned, calling Arlene their friend and showering her with attention. The girl eyed them suspiciously, not understanding why they liked her, and it made her uneasy. The twins were over the moon, admitting that Arlene was someone they just couldn't do without. The kids are picking out a present, and Arlene's all flustered, sitting on the couch with everyone staring at her. Suddenly, one of the boys' danger sense goes off. He's got to get to the halbern's place ASAP, but the grown-up won't let him go until they're done here.